Chapter 4451. If that's the case, Xiaohua's face showed a trace of slyness again. He smiled and said, I want to ask another question. What kind of evil idea do you have now? Fairy Xingyu asked warily. Nothing. Xiaohua blinked and said, We cultivators of the cultivation world can't bring anything with us when we ascend to the immortal world. Then what about the seniors who came to the cultivation world from the immortal world? Fairy Xingyu seemed to understand what Xiaohua meant and said with a smile. The same Stygian immortal slip can naturally be used. Ordinary immortal weapons will have their power reduced due to different nomological laws, but they can still be used. Seniors can't use the ink immortal slip for a long time. Xiaohua finally revealed his real purpose. They must have recorded the cultivation methods, secret techniques, pill formulas, etc., in the jade eyes or ink cloud eyes. Seniors can't bring these things to the immortal world. In that case, you might as well give them to me for safekeeping. Xiaohua, you money grubber. Fairy Xingyu couldn't help laughing and said, Suji, you don't know. He asked about my wind escape technique on the way, and wanted me to pass it on to him. Why not? Suji replied faintly, he's right. We can't take it away anyway. It's rare to meet such a Taoist cultivator, who cares about the people of the world. Although this kind of weirdo is a little petty, he's better than those who don't take the lives of the people seriously. With that, Suji raised his hand without hesitation, took out a dozen sumaru rings from his arms and handed them to Xiaohua. He said, These are the cultivation methods and the things I've collected. I'll give them all to you. Who knows if these things can be kept when we pass through the space channel? It's better to give them to you. Ah. Ha ha ha. Xiaohua was ecstatic. He took the sumaru rings and couldn't close his mouth. He laughed and said, Thank you, senior. Thank you. However, when he scanned it with his divine sense, he was stunned. There were not only ink cloud eyes and jade eyes, but also strange things. They were the ink immortal slips that Fairy Xingyu mentioned. And there were many of them. Senior Xiaohua was dumbfounded and whispered, These, it's all right, you can keep it for now. Suji didn't wait for Xiaohua to finish and said, I know you like strange things. You can think about it. Anyway, it wasn't taught by this Su. If you can learn something from it, it might be good for you. Yes. Xiaohua felt a burst of warmth in his heart. How could he not know Suji's intention of nurturing him? He hurriedly responded and put everything away. Xingyue, you belong to the Palace of Justice and no more secrets. Just give the wind escape technique to Xiaohua. There's no need for anything else. Suji looked at Fairy Xingyue and whispered. She seemed to be angry with Suji. Before Suji could finish, Fairy Xingyue said coldly, You are so generous. Doesn't the Punishment Palace have any secrets? You even dared to teach Xiaohua the 30,000 June Thunderbolt, so why wouldn't I dare? Here. Fairy Xingyu was even more amazing. She had taken out dozens of spatial rings. Xiaohua's eyes were dazzled. How could Xiaohua dare to take it? He hurriedly waved his hand and said, Fairy, forget it. Senior Su has given me enough. I don't want these. Are you looking down on me? Fairy Xingyu asked, glancing at him. Xiaohua hurriedly replied, No. Didn't Senior Su say that? There are many secrets in the Palace of Justice. I'm afraid of getting into trouble. Who told you that I gave you something from the Palace of Justice? Fairy Xingyu scolded with a smile. Xingyue comes into contact with all kinds of strange things almost every day. I've been in charge of Xingyue for so many years. Don't tell me I don't have some secret techniques. Really? Xiaohua was overjoyed. With a sweep of his divine consciousness, the dozens of spatial rings immediately disappeared from his eyes. You are really a miser. Fairy Xingyu couldn't help but laugh again. She looked at Suji and said, I've been with Suji in the 3 continents for so long. Except for that treacherous Hong Meng, we haven't taken in any disciples. We have some things to teach you, but first, there's not enough time. Second, there's nothing to teach in the 3 continents. If there's a chance, we'll talk about it when we reach the immortal world. Yes, thank you, seniors. Xiaohua was overjoyed again. Suji raised his hand and patted Xiaohua on the shoulder, saying, My name and Xingyue's name won't change. When you arrive in the immortal realm, you can come to us. You're a rogue cultivator, and don't have any foundation in the immortal realm. I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to cultivate. Yes. Xiaohua suddenly laughed and said, can I also follow you into the immortal realm? Ha, ha, you dare to sneak into the immortal realm in front of the law envoy and the punishment envoy. Fairy Xingyu laughed and said, aren't you afraid that I'll charge you with violating the immortal law and let Suji carry out the punishment? Haha, I'm just saying. Xiaohua laughed. Suji said earnestly, although you can sneak into the immortal realm and use some channels to get the spirit cleansing liquid to build your body, you'll be no different from an ordinary mortal fairy. However, it's not recorded in the immortal book. As the saying goes, if you don't have a proper name, you can't do it openly in the immortal realm. Therefore, I suggest that you go through the thunder tribulation to become an immortal. Okay, I understand. Xiaohua wasn't thinking about himself. He was also thinking about the future of Shenhua continent in the space. However, it seemed that Suji, the punishment envoy, was very impartial. Xiaohua didn't dare to reveal anything. He just said casually, actually, even if you can't return to the immortal realm through the Star Moon Palace, you can still live freely in the 3 continents, right? If that's the case, Xiaohua, why do you have to look for the way back to the Dawn Rain continent? Fairy Xingyu glanced at Xiaohua indifferently and asked, you've cultivated to the Mahayana stage of the human clan in the 3 continents and experienced the most important part of your life. You should have deeper feelings for the 3 continents. Xiaohua touched his nose and was speechless. Suji didn't retort like Fairy Xingyu. Instead, he said, when we were in despair, we also had this plan. However, we are immortals. Most of our bodies are filled with immortal qi, and our souls are also filled with the laws of the immortal realm. Our physical bodies can't exist on the 3 continents for long. The ubiquitous essence qi of heaven and earth corrodes our physical bodies all the time. You must have seen that Fairy Xingyu couldn't avoid the collapse of her physical body. At this time, she had no choice but to occupy the body of Princess Baihua. Although Princess Baihua's body is more suitable for Fairy Xingyu, her physical body hasn't been tempered by the spirit-washing liquid, so it can't contain Fairy Xingyu's soul. She used a secret technique to nourish herself for nearly 200 years, and only dared to come out of seclusion recently. And her strength has faded too much. Although I was a little stronger than Fairy Xingyu before, I've performed divination twice, which has greatly eroded my physical body. I can already feel that in less than 100 years, my physical body will collapse. I have no choice but to find a usable body. In fact, a few years ago, I've already advised Suji that it's best to prepare for a rainy day and find a way out for himself first. Fairy Xingyu's gaze fell on Suji with warmth, but he has always disagreed. He doesn't want to interfere with another person's life, nor does he want to take another person's life for no reason. I'm the punishment envoy of the Punishment Palace, in charge of the punishment fairy weapon of the immortal world. If I don't have the most basic self-discipline in my heart, how can I be fair? Suji replied faintly. Aren't you the same? Although you've taken over Princess Baihua's body, I know that if nothing unexpected happens, your physical body can last for another 100 years. For the same belief, you mentioned abandoning your physical body. You've also lost a lot of cultivation. One is marked by the company one keeps. Fairy Xingyu pursed her lips and smiled. I've always heard you say this, so I can't help but be self-disciplined. In the face of Fairy Xingyu's exposed thoughts, Suji changed the topic. He looked up at the starry sky and said disconsolately, in my hometown, there's an idiom to describe people without souls. It's called the walking dead. I thought, if my soul stayed in someone else's physical body, would it still be me? I'm afraid I'm no different from a walking dead, right? Fairy Xingyu raised her eyebrows and was about to get angry. However, after thinking for a while, she became dejected. She whispered, Suji, tell me about your hometown. I've told you so much, but you've never mentioned your hometown. Hometown? Xiaohua asked curiously. The hometown you mentioned earlier. Isn't it the immortal world? Of course not. Fairy Xingyu rolled her eyes at Xiaohua. The hometown that immortals talk about is the place where they ascend. If you ascend, the 3 continents will be your hometown. Oh, Xiaohua nodded. I see. Suji didn't pay any attention to Xiaohua. He gazed at the stars for the time it took to finish a cup of tea, and then he said, Xingyue, it's not that I don't want to tell you about my hometown. It's just that my hometown can't compare to the neon glow galaxy, nor can it compare to the 3 main continents. A place of the last days? What do you mean? Xiaohua asked, puzzled. The so-called place of the last days is the place where the path of cultivation is destroyed. Fairy Xingyu looked sympathetic. She glanced at Xiaohua and explained. There are many reasons for the destruction of the path of cultivation. It could be the loss of the cultivation method, the dissipation of the qi of heaven and earth, or the blockage of the ascension passage. Didn't Suji say that before? After the starburst, many realms will lose contact with the star field, which means they will lose contact with the spirit cleansing pool in the immortal realm. Those realms may become a place of the last days. There are no records of my hometown in the immortal realm. I don't know its corresponding name in the galaxy in the immortal realm. I only know that galaxy is called the Milky Way, and the blue planet I'm on is called Earth. Suji looked at the strange starry sky and said, Until now, I still don't know why Earth and the Milky Way became a place of the last days. However, Earth does not have the qi of heaven and earth. All the cultivation methods have disappeared. Chapter 44:52. Then how did you cultivate? Fairy Xingyu asked sympathetically. When I was 18 years old, I obtained the punishment celestial weapon of the immortal world. Suji's gaze seemed to pass through time and space, and fall on another distant world. Suji's story was not long, and there were some parts that Suji did not explain clearly. However, under Fairy Xingyu's questioning, Suji spoke for a full hour. Xiaohua listened with interest. After all, this was another immortal's cultivation world. But in the end, Xiaohua sighed again. Suji had his own hometown, Earth, and Fairy Xingyu had her own hometown, the Neon Glow Galaxy. Where was his hometown? The 3 continents? The Dawn Rain continent? Perhaps he would only know when his memory was restored? Suji, it's really not easy for you to become the punishment envoy of the Punishment Palace. Fairy Xingyu also expressed deep sympathy. Compared to you, my cultivation is simply a smooth path. Everyone has their own path, so there's no need to compare. Suji said faintly. Just like the Law Palace and the Punishment Palace, why bother with each other's gains and losses? Just do your own thing. Hehe, that's right. Fairy Xingyu nodded and said, If it weren't for the Sovereign of Justice and the Sovereign of Punishment, how could the Punishment Palace and the Law Palace be incompatible? Speaking of this, Suji looked up at the barrier and said, The sky is bright and the rain has stopped. Shall we go to the Chitty River now? No. There's no need to be in such a hurry, right? Fairy Xingyu seemed to be enjoying her time with Suji and answered reluctantly. Xiaohua also hurriedly said, That's right. Senior Su, you've said so much, but you still haven't told me how this junior will help you. It's very simple. Suji said concisely. Use your divine sense, which is very sensitive to the power of the stars and the moon, to find the exit in the starry sky maze and the immortal qi. Then, use the power of thunder to help me break the restriction. Ah. It's that simple? Xiaohua was a little dumbfounded. Senior, don't lie to me. That's simple. Fairy Xingyu shouted. We've found that starry sky maze formation 5 times. Each time, we entered a different place. Later, we used the magical powers of tens of thousands of cultivators to find the exit of the immortal qi twice. As for that restriction, even Suji couldn't break it with his strength. Do you think you can? All right, just pretend I didn't say anything. Xiaohua curled his lips. He was somewhat disapproving. He was very confident in his sense of direction in the void. The more others were unable to do it, the more he could do it. As for the restrictive spell, Xiaohua did not believe that Reverend Yun's Pango axe could not break it. At the thought of Reverend Yun, Xiaohua asked hastily, Oh right, can we use Cosmos bags in Star Moon Palace? There are some places where you can. Fairy Xingyu replied without hesitation. If so, how many cultivators can enter Star Moon Palace? Xiaohua asked again. Fairy Xingyu answered with great familiarity. Over the years, Star Picking Tower has recruited about 49,000 people from Tao League, Confucian cultivators, Buddhist sect, and the Demon Clan. All Confucian aristocratic families above the third class would send people, and 60% of the aristocratic families below the third class would send people. The Buddhist sect's guardians would send people. As for the demon clan, there are even more. After all, the demon clan is more sensitive to the power of the stars and moon. Star Moon Palace has appeared in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. If we count, there are about 60,000 people. So many. Xiaohua was dumbfounded. Star Moon Palace was a famous ancient ruin in the three continents. Xiaohua already felt that it was a lot to be qualified to enter a few hundred of them. Who would have thought that 60,000 people could enter at once? How was this training? It was more like sightseeing. Hee, Xingyue has been preparing for so long. Isn't it for this day? 50,000 people is not a lot. Fairy Xingyu said with a grin. Xiaohua also smiled. If there were only a few hundred people, the 10,000 people he brought would be very eye-catching. However, since there were already 60,000 people going in, his 10,000 people were nothing. Junior also wants to bring some Fortune Gate disciples in. It won't affect anything, right? Xiaohua asked tentatively. You want to take advantage of me again? Fairy Xingyu snapped. Can't you not take advantage of me? No, as long as I live, I won't stop taking advantage of you. Xiaohua replied decisively. Suji glanced at Xiaohua and said, It doesn't matter. Anyone can go in. As long as you find a place where you can use the Kunlun mirror. Hee, many thanks, senior. Xiaohua's smile was even brighter than Xiaohua's. In addition to what senior said earlier, if there's anything junior needs to do in the Star Moon Palace, please feel free to tell me. Don't worry. Fairy Xingyu snorted coldly. We have already entered 8 times. If we can avoid borrowing your help, we will try our best not to. If you bring too many disciples in, you have to let them be careful of the dangers inside. After all, that kind of risk is almost unavoidable. Yes, Junior understands. Xiaohua nodded respectfully. Then, the three of them discussed for a while before Fairy Xingyu removed the starlight boundary. Suji also scattered the waterfall water boundary. The waterfall fell on the stone wall again, roaring as it fell. Suji and Fairy Xingyu glanced at each other. They did not tell Xiaohua that this waterfall was where they had first lost it in the 3 continents. Then, the 3 of them moved and flew toward the Chitty River in the east of the Thousand Demons sacred realm. When the stars of the Thousand Demons sacred realm shone brightly, the Great Sacred Hall was the center of the Thousand Demons sacred realm, where the stars gathered. The stars that were originally the rulers of the starry skies fell on a star shadow somewhere in the Great Sage Hall. When the star materialized, another star pattern, mixed with the essence of the stars, fell into the Great Sage Hall. Inside the Great Sage Hall, the phoenix Wu had already transformed into an enormous desolate chaos demon. The astral runes landed on the 132 billion points. A astral rune was engraved on it, and the phoenix Wu's body rose a few feet higher. This situation was very similar to when Feng Wu became a great saint. However, at this time, the starry sky was all around Feng Wu, and the stars that the other great saints had transformed into did not appear. By the time all the stars in the Great Sacred Hall had materialized, Feng Wu was already inside the Great Sacred Hall. He floated to the surface of the Great Sacred Hall. The last star pattern was on his body, and his body had become one with the Great Sacred Hall. Boom! The entire Great Sage Hall shone with incomparably dazzling starlight. The void was filled with light, and even the tiniest of spatial cracks could be seen. At the same time, the entire Great Sage Hall had long disappeared. A star that had never appeared before emerged from the surface of the Great Sage Hall. The light shadow was more ferocious than the sun. It spread in all directions in the void. In the light shadow, the void was pierced and collapsed. The star of the stars had actually appeared in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Caw in the starlight, a phoenix cry that shook the void rang out. The star of the stars instantly collapsed, and all the stars instantly turned into star marks. Feng Wu's body that had become a saint appeared from the stars. Feng Wu's demonic body was extremely huge. The star marks formed by the collapse of the stars were only 10% of his entire demonic body. The rest of his demonic body was still ethereal and gray. Even so, an incomparably vast and ferocious aura filled the entire void like a tidal wave. The great saint of the starry sky. The star of the stars. The saint of the saints. In the eyes of the golden-winged great rocks and the others, a 7-star great saint was already a peerless saint. However, they still underestimated the heavenly phoenix's covetousness. The saint of the saints was the heavenly phoenix's goal. Only a demon with the bloodline of the absolute saint could become the saint of the saints. Of course, the 1,000 demons sacred realm was only one of the many realms, and the Great Sage Hall was only one of the many demon holy lands. The heavenly phoenix's path was still very long. The heavenly phoenix great saint revealed his saint of the saints' body, and the image of the desolate stars appeared in his eyes. His gaze was fixed on a certain spot in the void. At this moment, the void rumbled with thunder that resembled a horned dragon. The power of laws of the 3 continents surged in from all directions, not allowing the heavenly phoenix great saint to resist at all. A trace of mockery appeared in the heavenly phoenix great saint's eyes, and then he closed them again. As the heavenly phoenix great saint closed his eyes, the ferocious aura receded like the tide. His demon great saint's body also faded from the starlight. The lightning disappeared, and the star of the stars appeared again. At this moment, the golden-winged great rock, the mystic armored pentaceratops, the flying feather void beast, the 5-colored sea god shell, the scarlet flame vermilion bird, and the netherworld demonic dragon spider all appeared in the star of the stars. However, the stars of the golden-winged great rock, the flying feather void beast, and the 5-colored sea god shell were covered in faint starlight, while the stars of the mystic armored pentaceratops, the scarlet flame vermilion bird, and the nether demonic dragon spider were grayish-white. However, in an instant 3 star bridges emerged, and 3 starlights emerged from the void and fell on the 3 stars. The 3 stars also gave birth to starlight. Not only that, when the 6 stars were shining, the star of the golden-winged great pung bird flew several feet higher, and the star of the 5-colored sea god shell fell several feet lower. The positions of the 6 great sages had changed. Although Feng Wu's demonic body had already hidden itself among the stars, his consciousness was still present. After observing the changes in the positions of the stars in the Great Sage Hall, Feng Wu's demonic body also escaped from the stars. The moment he left, the stars in the Great Sage Hall began to fade, and the hall's appearance appeared. The heavenly phoenix Great Saint still transformed into his previous star demon Great Saint and descended. When he landed half a foot higher than the golden-winged great pung bird, he stopped. Feng Wu opened his eyes and glanced at the 6 great sages of the demon race, whose eyes were tightly shut. With a flap of his wings, the starlight in the Great Sage Hall gradually extinguished. The Great Sage Hall became peaceful, and the pillars of stars that fell into the Great Sage Hall also disappeared. The star of the stars phenomenon that had shrouded the 1,000 demons sacred realm for dozens of days and nights also disappeared. P.S. A new year has begun. I wish all your wishes come true, and all the best. Thank you all for your support of the 3rd place finisher, and express my gratitude. Chapter 4453. Oh, as the light dimmed, the golden-winged great pung bird was the first to come to his senses. He looked at Feng Wu, who was half a foot taller than him. While the golden-winged great pung bird was shocked, his eyes were filled with admiration. However, when he saw the mystic armored pentaceratops, who was dozens of feet shorter than him, a smile appeared on his face. The golden rock woke up, and so did the mystic armored pentaceratops and the others. The mystic armored pentaceratops, the scarlet flame vermilion bird, and the nether demonic dragon spider didn't expect to be able to rush back to the Great Sage Hall so quickly. However, when the star bridge appeared, they understood something. Therefore, the 3 great sages looked at each other without any particular surprise. Then, the 3 great sages looked at the 5-colored sea god seashell, who was several feet behind them, and then looked at Feng Wu. Feng Wu saw that the great sages had returned to the Great Sage Hall, and were looking at him. He knew that although he had concealed his identity as the great sage of all sages, he was still a 7-star great sage of the 1,000 demons sacred realm. He was still the first great sage of the demon race. If he didn't speak, the other 6 great sages wouldn't speak either. Therefore, Feng Wu nodded at the 6 great sages and said to the golden rock, "Great Sage Peng, this is my first time in the Great Sage Hall. I'm not familiar with the Great Sage Hall, or the 1,000 demons sacred realm. Please introduce me. Yes, great sage Feng. The Golden Rock's arrogance had mostly dissipated when he faced Feng Wu. He, the flying feather void beast, and the five-colored sea god seashell all knew that Feng Wu's strength wasn't inferior to his when he was a 7-star great sage. Now that he'd cleansed himself with the great sage hall's starlight, he'd even drawn the 6 stars of the Southern Dipper into his body. Although the Golden Rock didn't know what had happened after that, seeing that Feng Wu's star position was higher than his, the Golden Rock didn't dare to underestimate him. The Golden Rock turned to the mystic armored Pentaceratops, the scarlet flame vermilion bird, and the nether demonic dragon spider, and said, "This is the first great sage of the demon race, the heaven-defying thunder phoenix. Greetings, great sage Feng." The mystic armored Pentaceratops and the others respectfully and introduced themselves. Then the golden-winged great Peng continued, "Phoenix sage, every time a new great saint enters the great sage hall, there is an unwritten rule, and that is the ranking of the great sage. Of course, our star positions can already reveal each other's strength. However, there are many times when star positions don't necessarily represent saint positions. Thus, great saints with similar star positions can all fight to determine the final saint position." "Hehe, I understand." Feng Wu smiled and said, "Don't look at how Bei Sheng has fallen to the bottom right now. His true strength might not be inferior to spider saints, right?" Without waiting for the golden-winged great rock to speak, the mystic armored Pentaceratops hurriedly said, "The Phoenix Sage is right. This is definitely the case now. However, the star position also represents the potential and speed of cultivation. In the future, Bei Sage may not be able to compare to Spider Sage." Feng Wu pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, "Since this is the custom of the Great Sage Hall, this saint will not overstep it. Great sages, if you have any objections, we can do our best to settle them." When the mystic armored Pentaceratops heard this, its eyes narrowed. However, it did not speak. Instead, it looked at the Golden Rock. The Golden Rock laughed and said, "Phoenix Saint, you're not joking with this saint, are you? This saint has already fought Phoenix Saint once before. And this saint admits that he is no match for him. If we fight again now, wouldn't this saint be looking for trouble?" Of course, Dragon Saint has always been unconvinced of this saint's position as the top expert of the demon race. He has challenged this saint many times. Now that Phoenix Saint has taken the lead, perhaps he will be interested. As it said this, the Golden Rock turned to look meaningfully at the mystic armored Pentaceratops and asked, "Don't you think so, Dragon Saint?" That's right, that's right." Before the mystic armored Pentaceratops could speak, the flying feather void beast in the distance shouted, "Dragons and phoenixes are the strongest demon race in ancient times. Phoenix Saint has never appeared in our 1,000 demons sacred realm. Now that Phoenix Saint has come to our great sage hall, it is indeed time for us to broaden our horizons and see who is the strongest." The mystic armored Pentaceratops had originally wanted to see just how powerful this newly ascended 7 stars great saint was. However, after seeing the stars rise above the sun, and seeing even the golden-winged great Peng concede defeat, and finally the flying feather void beast egging him on, how could he not know what to do? The mystic armored Pentaceratops smiled and said, "Although this saint has just met Phoenix Saint, before this saint, Sparrow Saint, and Spider Saint returned to the Great Sage Hall, the Phoenix Saint's starlight marrow cleansing attracted the power of 10,000 stars to our 1,000 demon sacred realm. We have benefited greatly from it. We have yet to thank Phoenix Saint, so how can we fight Phoenix Saint?" With that, the mystic armored Pentaceratops bowed grandly and said, "Thank you for your help, Phoenix Saint." The red flame vermilion bird and the nether dragon spider also bowed to express their gratitude. Phoenix Saint smiled and bowed back. The flying feather void beast and the 5-colored sea god seashell were a little depressed. After the 3 great saints bowed, the Golden Rock spoke again. "Since no great saint wants to challenge Phoenix Saint, then Phoenix Saint's title as the top great saint of the demon race is set. This saint is the 2nd great saint of the demon race. Is there anyone who wants to challenge this saint?" As the Golden Rock spoke, his gaze fell on the mystic armored Pentaceratops. The mystic armored Pentaceratops' mouth was bitter. He knew very well that the Golden Rock's strength was on par with his. The Golden Rock's bloodline was a little stronger than his, But now the golden rock's star position was dozens of feet higher than his. This meant that he had broken through the bottleneck, and the star marks on his demonic body had solidified. The golden rock's strength completely overshadowed his. If he challenged the golden rock for no reason, he would only be humiliating himself. There was no other outcome. Therefore the mystic armored Pentaceratops smiled and said, "Phoenix Saint is high and mighty. Which saint dares to make a fool of themselves again?" "Yes." The golden rock nodded, and looked at the five-colored sea god seashell. He said, "Sea god seashell, your star position is the lowest now. Today you will be the last saint. With your current strength, you may not necessarily be the seventh great saint of the demon race. If you want, you can challenge Spider Saint." Hearing the golden rock's words, the five-colored sea god seashell didn't react. The nether demonic dragon spider's pupils constricted. The mystic armored Pentaceratops had already made it clear that the five-colored sea god seashell's strength was definitely higher than his. If he fought the five-colored sea god seashell, he would definitely be the last of the seven great saints. However, a moment later, the five-colored sea god seashell smiled and said, "I have already seen the power of Phoenix Saint in my previous battle with her. At the same time, I have also glimpsed the peak combat strength of the demon race. Since I want to challenge you, I will challenge the first great saint of the demon race. As for today's battle, it doesn't matter if we don't fight. I will temporarily occupy the position of the seventh great saint of the demon race. So what?" "Good." The golden rock clapped and smiled. There is a saying in the human race that every dog has its day. 30 years is too short for the demon race. Why don't we make a promise of 3,000 years? After 3,000 years, we will meet again to fight. Haha, the pentagram dragon laughed. After 3,000 years, Rock Saint and Phoenix Saint will have broken through the starry sky. Even if we want to fight, we won't be able to find the two great saints. Ha, the flying feather void beast and the others laughed. Seeing that the great sage hall had never been so friendly before, Feng Wu's heart moved. He said, "When a new great saint enters the great sage hall, there is usually a lot of excitement. Today when I enter, it seems a little lonely. How about this? We are all the most powerful demon race in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, and we are all great saints of the Great Sage Hall. Although we can't be considered brothers, for the sake of the future prosperity of the demon race and the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, why don't we become sworn brothers?" 7 saints become sworn brothers? Not only was the golden-winged Great Peng stunned by Feng Wu's words, but even the other saints were stunned. After all, the demon race was not like the human race. They had always respected individual combat strength. Even if they were on good terms with each other, they were mostly demons of their own race. How could they become sworn brothers with other demon races? Even if the black armored Pentaceratops and the nether demonic dragon spider were on good terms, they had never thought of becoming sworn brothers. Even though the various saints appeared to be harmonious on the surface, who knew how many conflicts there were in private? The heirs of the various holy lands even fought each other to the death. The golden rock hesitated for a moment and asked, "Phoenix Sage, what do you mean?" Feng Wu smiled. "Rock Sage, I'm sure you've been to the hidden immortal continent and the pure land of ultimate bliss to train. If there is a conflict between the Confucian cultivators and the Buddhist sect, who do you think will win?" The golden rock did not hesitate and said, "If I'm not wrong, it should be the Buddhist sect." "Why?" Feng Wu asked. Although the Buddhist sect is divided into many factions, they all belong to the Thunder Sound Temple. Under the orders of the Mahavairakana revered Buddha, the entire Buddhist sect must obey. The golden rock explained. On the other hand, although the Confucian cultivators also have immortal Emperor Go-Chen from the Immortal Palace, the 4 great clans may not obey the orders of the Immortal Palace. The other 100 classics will definitely obey the orders of the Immortal Palace. In this case, the winner is obvious. That's right. Feng Wu nodded. Although the demons of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm have strong physical bodies, they can't compare to the human race in terms of cooperation. The Great Sage Temple can command the entire Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, but are the 7 great sages of the Great Sage Temple united? The black-armored Pentaceratops was displeased and said, "Phoenix Sage, you just came to the Great Sage Temple. How can you see that the Great Sage Temple's sages are not united? Dragon Sage, don't be impatient, Feng Wu said unhurriedly. What I said earlier is only one of the reasons. Secondly, the Great Sage Temple originally had 6 great sages. Although the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm is large, I'm afraid there is not a single demon realm in it that is outside of the sage's influence, right? When Feng Wu said this, all the sages' expressions changed slightly, and the Golden Rock was no exception. The sages arranged the order of sages mainly for the distribution of benefits in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. As the leader of the sages, Feng Wu should have the largest sphere of influence in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. If an ordinary demon sage became a demon sage, he would have a certain sphere of influence in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. As long as the other sages compromised and gave up some benefits, it would be enough. However, Feng Wu had no foundation in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, and appeared out of nowhere. If Feng Wu occupied a sphere of influence in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, wouldn't the other great sages give up even more benefits? Chapter 44-54. The mystic armored Pentaceratops and the netherworld demonic dragon spider glanced at the 5-colored sea god shell, gloating. However, Feng Wu's words left all the saints dumbfounded once again. Feng Wu continued. I'm now the #1 great saint in the Great Sage Temple, and I should have the largest sphere of influence in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. However, my current situation is similar to Sage Peng's, and I might break through the starry sky soon. I don't want to destroy the balance of power in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, nor do I want to take the power that originally belonged to you from your hands. Therefore, I hope to become sworn brothers with all the saints and live peacefully in the future. Sage Phoenix's words make me ashamed. The Golden Rock nodded. Sage Phoenix is willing to make such a sacrifice for the peace of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. You're truly our role model. I'm willing to become sworn brothers with Sage Phoenix, and I also suggest that every great saint should give a piece of the Demon King realm to Sage Phoenix to express our sincerity. That's right, that's how it should be. The flying feather void beast immediately shouted. I'm also willing to become sworn brothers with Sage Phoenix, and I'm also willing to give you a piece of the Demon King realm. The 5-colored sea god shell was stunned, but he immediately understood. Feng Wu and Xiaohua had a close relationship. He was forced to offer Bai Qingyu to Xiaohua, and Xiaohua gave it to Feng Wu. Bai Qingyu was naturally considered as his offering to Feng Wu. He didn't dare to delay and hurriedly shouted, "Same for me," seeing that all 3 great saints had agreed. The red flame vermilion bird also smiled and shouted, "I'm also willing." Thus, the mystic armored Pentaceratops and the netherworld demonic dragon spider could only agree. They didn't know that they had been tricked by the Golden Rock. Seeing that all the saints had agreed, the Golden Rock smiled and said, "Since that's the case, Sage Phoenix, let's become sworn brothers in the Great Sage Temple, and let all the demons in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm witness a magnificent scene that has never been seen before." Agreed. Feng Wu smiled. Boom! Hearing Feng Wu's agreement, the golden-winged great peng flapped its wings, and the solidified star mark turned into a star that rushed into the starry sky. The mystic armored Pentaceratops, the flying feather void beast, and the others also shook their star marks. Finally, the phoenix parasol also spread its wings, and the 7 stars rushed into the starry sky. The entire great sacred hall shook, and countless rays of light streaked across the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. Amidst the light, the silhouette of the Great Holy Hall was revealed. High above the Great Holy Hall, the heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix, the golden-winged Great Rock, the arcane Pentaceratops, the flying feather void beast, the scarlet flame vermilion bird, the netherworld demonic dragon spider, and the 5-colored sea god shell appeared. Although the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm was huge, every demon could see it clearly no matter where they were. At the same time, a majestic voice rang out from the Great Holy Hall. The Great Holy Hall of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm has rearranged the position of Great Saint. Today, the Great Sage Hall has 7 great sages. They are the first Great Sage, the heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix, the second Holy Golden-Winged Great Rock, the third Holy Mystic Armored Pentaceratops, the fourth Holy Flying Feather Void Beast, the 5th Holy Vermilion Flame Vermilion Bird, the 6th Holy Netherworld Demonic Dragon Spider, and the seventh holy five-colored sea god shall. Because of the first great sage, the heaven-defying thunder phoenix, the 7 great sages have sworn an oath in the great sage hall. As his voice fell, the entire great sage hall shone with starlight, once again enveloping the entire 1,000 demons' sacred realm. The heaven-defying lightning phoenix and the other great sages lined up around the great sage temple and bowed 9 times in a row. The light of the great sage temple flickered 9 times in a row. Boom! When it was the last time, even more starlight fell from the sky, enveloping the 1,000 beasts' sacred realm for an hour. After the 7 sages became sworn brothers, they all returned to their demon forms. Feng Wu looked at the sages and said, "This sage has just entered the Great Holy Hall and experienced the starlight marrow cleansing. There are many mysteries of the stars in the Great Holy Hall that I have yet to comprehend. The Great Holy Hall is the 1,000 demons' sacred realm, so all matters will be discussed by the sages. This sage will go into seclusion to comprehend them. If the sages have any use for this sage, feel free to wake me up." Seeing that Feng Wu was about to go into seclusion and completely ignore the matters of the 1,000 demons' sacred realm, the golden-winged great roc and the others looked at each other and smiled knowingly. "Phoenix Sage, there's no need to be like this. You are the first great saint of our demon race. We have something to report to you. Haha, this sage's heart is focused on cultivation, not worldly affairs. Please take care of me, sages." Feng Wu laughed loudly. His figure flickered, and he disappeared into the starry sky above the Great Holy Hall. All right. The golden-winged great roc watched helplessly as Feng Wu left. He looked around and said, "Since the Phoenix Sage doesn't care about worldly affairs, we'll discuss among ourselves. If there's anything we need the Phoenix Sage for, it won't be too late to tell him then." The mystic armored Pentaceratops was also happy. Although he was currently the 3rd great saint, he was actually no different from the 2nd great saint. In particular, the golden-winged great roc had already broken through his bottleneck. If nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely be able to shatter the stars within 3,000 years. The same was true for the heaven-defying thunder phoenix. To the mystic armored Pentaceratops, 3,000 years was merely 30 years for an ordinary human. He had plenty of patience. "All right," the mystic armored Pentaceratops nodded. "This sage will first talk about what I saw in Qijing. This demon realm is truly strange. However, before the mystic armored Pentaceratops could finish speaking, another streak of starlight rushed out of the space in front of the golden-winged great roc. This starlight flickered rapidly like an eye blinking. The golden-winged great roc was shocked. He said in a low voice, "Dragon Sage, please wait. There seems to be an extremely urgent report." "Dragon Sage, please." The mystic armored Pentaceratops naturally knew the rules and nodded. The golden-winged great roc's claw grabbed the air, and the starlight fell into it. When the starlight faded, it was a beast's skin shaped like a flying bird. The golden-winged great roc picked up the beast's skin and scanned it with his vital sense. He looked up at the other 5 saints and handed the beast's skin to the mystic armored Pentaceratops. "Dragon Sage, please take a look." The mystic armored Pentaceratops was very curious about the golden-winged great roc's expression. When he took the beast's skin and scanned it with his vital sense, he was enraged and shouted, "How is this possible? The humans actually sent an army of hundreds of thousands to invade our 1,000 demon sacred realm? And they returned to the hidden immortal continent after destroying a demon realm? Damn it, damn it. They actually called themselves the invincible army of the 3 continents. Wherever they go, no matter if it's demon realm or human realm, anyone who dares to stand in their way will be killed. They really, really don't want to live anymore. Damn it, damn it." The nether demonic dragon spider saw this and shouted, "Dragon Sage, when did this human army invade our 1,000 demon sacred realm? How come we didn't know?" "Dragon Sage, this saint wants to personally lead a demon realm army to stop them." The red flame vermilion bird was also furious. "Only we demon realm can say such arrogant words. A mere human army dares to call themselves an invincible army? Dragon Sage, did it only say to destroy a demon realm?" The flying feather void beast's eyes flashed and asked softly. "That's right." The mystic armored Pentaceratops nodded. "Not only did we massacre a demon realm, but we also killed the 14 demon kings and great demons blocking our way. Then what about the demon realms where the 14 demon kings and great demons are? The flying feather void beast asked again. The mystic armored Pentaceratops was stunned when he saw that the flying feather void beast wasn't surprised, and instead asked about the demon realms where the great demons were. He looked at the flying feather void beast, then at the golden-winged great rock and asked curiously, "What does their demon realms have to do with them?" "Oh, looks like they weren't trampled or massacred." The flying feather void beast understood and lowered his head, no longer speaking. "Sage and I? What do you mean by that?" The golden-winged great rock's heart thumped as if he had thought of something. He turned his eyes to the five-colored sea god shell and asked, "Sage and I, how did the banquet go this time? Why did your star rank drop so much?" Dragon Sage, the five-colored sea god shell, didn't want to talk to him. "Hurry up and give Sparrow Sage an army of the demon clan. These humans are too arrogant. We have to teach them a lesson." "Okay." Sparrow Sage, the mystic armored Pentaceratops, nodded and looked at the red flame vermilion bird. "Why don't you? Hee. Don't worry," the vermilion bird chuckled. "These humans were able to sneak into the territory of our demon race without anyone noticing. This vermilion bird is a little suspicious. In my opinion, we should first investigate how they managed to escape our detection." Okay. Seeing that the sages were starting to understand, the golden-winged great rock said, "We just became sworn brothers in the Great Sage Hall. Are you trying to shirk your responsibility now? This matter has something to do with Phoenix Sage." With that, the golden-winged great rock gave a simple explanation of what happened at Qingbo's banquet. Finally, he said, "Phoenix Sage seems to be on very good terms with that Xiaohua. Phoenix Sage became sworn brothers with us before saying that he wouldn't interfere with the affairs of the Great Sage Hall, nor would he spread his forces throughout the 1,000 demons sacred realm. I think it's because of the human army. For Phoenix Sage's sake, we can't make things too difficult for this army, right?" "Ah. Then." The red flame vermilion bird was shocked and said anxiously, "Phoenix Sage isn't a human spy, right?" "Ha ha ha." The netherworld demonic dragon spider laughed and pointed at the red flame vermilion bird. "Sparrow Sage, you haven't been burned silly by your red flame, have you? If Phoenix Sage is a human spy, how could he have been recognized by the Great Sage Hall? How could he have been worshipped by all the stars? Besides, Phoenix Sage didn't attack Pung Sage, Enai Sage, or Bay Sage. He even hoped that we could work together to build the glory of the 1,000 demons sacred realm. If he's a spy, I don't think he would say that, right?" "This sage thinks so too." The golden-winged great rock nodded. "It's already extremely rare for a human spy to become a great demon of our Yao clan. How could a spy become a 7-star great saint? Besides, with Phoenix Sage's current status, why would he care about being a human spy?" This sage understands." The red flame vermilion bird nodded. However, as he nodded, a smile appeared on his face. He understood that there was no need to take anything said in the Great Sage Hall seriously. Chapter 4455. Are you still going to stop the Fortune Gates army? The great golden-winged rock asked with a faint smile. "I'm not crazy." The red flame vermilion bird laughed. "Why would I make you unhappy for no reason? Besides, the Taoist and Confucian cultivators on the hidden immortal continent are mortal enemies. Aren't the Fortune Gates disciples going to turn the hidden immortal continent upside down? Won't the 1,000 demons sacred realm be able to take advantage of that?" If that's the case, the great golden-winged rock ordered, "Dragon Sage, pass down the Great Sage Hall's order. Don't stop the Taoists' army. Let them go back and find trouble with the Confucian cultivators. We'll continue to discuss the matter of Qijing." "Yes, I understand." The mystic armored Pentaceratops nodded in agreement. Xiaohua accompanied Suji and Fairy Xingyu as they flew into the sky. Starlight once again appeared in the 1,000 demons sacred realm. The Great Sage Hall's silhouette appeared majestic in the sky. Suji and Fairy Xingyu stopped and looked at the grand occasion that seemed to be right in front of them. "How is that possible?" Fairy Xingyu turned pale with fright. "Heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix? The 7 stars great sage from before? Why don't I have any records of him? Moreover, once the 7-star great saint enters the Great Sage Hall, he will immediately become the strongest expert of the demon race. The power structure of the entire 1,000 demons sacred realm will change greatly. This is something that has never happened before in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Not only that, Suji's expression changed. Although the 6 great sages of the Great Sage Hall were powerful, they were not united. They fought for their own interests and rarely extended their hands out of the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Now that the 7 great sages of the Great Sage Hall have become sworn brothers, won't they be expanding the Thousand Demons sacred realm? Although the human race has a lot of people, our true strength is still incomparable to the demon race. The grudge between the Confucian cultivators and the Buddhist sect has not been resolved. If the demon race rises again, the 3 continents will not be peaceful in the future. Suji. After Suji finished speaking, Fairy Xingyu said, "You might not have been in the Thousand Demons sacred realm before, but the 7 stars great sage who entered the Great Sage Hall was more powerful than this." It was said that the Thousand Demons sacred realm was filled with stars that illuminated the Thousand Demons sacred realm for 81 days and nights. Although the stars had already passed by the time I arrived, the power of the stars and moon in the Thousand Demons sacred realm is extremely powerful, far surpassing what I've seen. What? Far beyond what you can see. Xingyue, you mean? Suji almost didn't dare to believe his ears, and he said in shock, "You've never seen it in the celestial realm? Not bad." Fairy Xingyu nodded affirmatively. "This reminds me of some of the secrets of the Demon League that the Palace of Justice has." Hearing that this was a secret of the Palace of Justice, Suji frowned and only responded in a low voice, not asking any more questions. Fairy Xingyu also knew that these secrets could not be divulged. She only explained, "The Star of the Stars, the Saint of all Saints. I suspect that this 7 stars great saint is not only the 7 stars great saint, but also the so-called saint of all saints in the Demon League." Qil Xiaohua's heart stirred, and he said, "Although I'm somewhat familiar with this heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix, and previously, Bai Qingyu also obtained some of his main force, I didn't expect him to have such great achievements. If the 2 seniors have any misgivings, please allow me to go and kill him." "No." Suji shook his head and said, "Even if the first great saint of the demon clan is the saint of all saints, it has nothing to do with us. We won't interfere in the affairs of the 3 continents. Of course, Xiaohua, if you think that this great saint will hinder the prosperity of the human clan and cause endless killing, you can go ahead and kill him." Fairy Xingyu looked at Xiaohua thoughtfully, as if pondering whether what Xiaohua said was true. Then she shook her head and said, "The Star of the Stars is a demon clan expert who possesses the power of the stars. Not only is his strength outstanding, but his luck is also on par with the stars. With the ability of the human clan, I'm afraid we can't get rid of him. Xiaohua, since you're familiar with him, you'd better be careful." Xiaohua heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. "I understand. I'll try my best to befriend him. If he doesn't offend me, I won't touch him either. Let's go. This has nothing to do with us." Suji waved his hand and said, "The ones with a headache should be Immortal Emperor Go-chun and Vairocana revered Buddha." Suji was right. At this time in the Thunder Temple, the Buddhas were silent. Whether it was bodhisattvas, arhats, or heavenly kings, they all put their palms together and looked at the Buddhist cloud in front of the Thunder Temple. At this time, the Buddhist cloud was a little dim. The endless heavenly flowers and Sanskrit chanting inside had long been blocked by the dazzling starlight. The Buddhist cloud was like a mirror, revealing the strange starlight of the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Of course, the outline of the Great Sage Hall, which should have been the clearest, could not be seen at all. The heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix and the other 7 saints' star demon bodies could not be revealed. The only thing the Buddhas could see was the endless starlight. The dazzling starlight only lasted for a moment. Then, a breeze blew, and the Buddhist radiance shone brightly, completely covering the starlight. The Vairocana revered Buddha's voice rang in the Buddha's ears. "Amitabha, the radiance of the stars and the moon is the radiance of heaven and earth. Only my Buddhist radiance is the radiance of humanity. The radiance of the stars and the moon originates from nature, while the Buddhist radiance comes from one's own body. When the radiance of the stars and the moon enters one's body, no matter how strong one's strength is, it's only relying on external forces. The Buddhist radiance is one's foundation, one's own self." My Buddha, the Nama Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva, put his palms together and said, Buddhism is formed by faith and light is born from thoughts. Heaven and earth may change, but the Buddhist radiance is inexhaustible because of faith. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. The Buddhas lowered their brows and chanted. For a moment, the sky was filled with peanuts. Strands of faith power were born out of thin air and surged into the radiance behind the Namo Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva's head. After a while, the Namo Dipankara archaic Buddha said, Namo Amitabha. A few days ago, the 1,000 demons' sacred realm's 7 stars of the Big Dipper descended. According to the demon race's cultivation, a great sage descending. Previously, the Great Sage Hall already had 6 great sages. With this one, there should be 7 great sages. Namo Amitabha. The revered one is right. The Namo Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva put his palms together and replied, This 7th great sage is different from the previous 6 great sages. He caused the 7 stars of the Big Dipper to descend. According to the demon race's words, he's a 7 stars great sage. His strength should be 7 times that of an ordinary great sage. Speaking up to this point, the Namo Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva frowned and said, However, for the stars to shine today, and the entire 1,000 demons' sacred realm to be covered in starlight, it's really strange. Could it be that the 7th great sage had entered the Great Sage Hall and triggered the demon race's secret impartation? The starlight is 100 times more abundant than usual, and it also covers the 1,000 demons' sacred realm for 81 days and 81 nights. The overall strength of the demon race in the 1,000 demons' sacred realm has increased. In the distance, the dragon-slaying Arhat took a step forward and put his palms together. Revered one, the Buddha aura has been appearing frequently in our Pure Land world recently. Not only has the Namo Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva and the Namo Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva returned to their positions, even the long-lost Namo Maitreya Buddha has descended in the Thunder Temple. It can be said that the Buddha aura is boundless and the Buddha aura is shining everywhere. If nothing unexpected happens, our Pure Land world's Buddhist sect has already taken the lead among the Buddhist, Confucian, and demon sects of the 3 continents. As long as we complete the sutra-seeking extreme bliss, the hidden immortal continent will also be filled with Buddhist lotuses. When the hidden immortal continent is at its peak, the 1,000 demons' sacred realm will no longer be a concern. However, the 1,000 demons' sacred realm has a strange phenomenon today. It's actually a myriad of stars shining in the sun. I'm afraid that the day of the Buddha aura's descent into the 1,000 demons' sacred realm will be delayed. In this disciple's opinion, the demon race must have sensed a crisis and used the secret technique of the Great Sage Temple to forcibly increase the overall strength of the demon race. Namo Amitabha. The Namo Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva shook his head. Dragon-slaying sage, what you said seems to make sense, but I think that's not the case. Oh, go ahead, Bodhisattva. The dragon-slaying Arhat raised his long eyebrows and asked. First of all, our Buddhist sect has no direct conflict with the demon race. Although our Buddha sect saves all living beings, it doesn't exclude the demon race. However, the demon race has always been stubborn and ignorant. They are far less intelligent than us humans. The glory of our Buddha aura has never covered the hidden immortal continent. So why should we be so ambitious and try to illuminate the 1,000 demons' sacred realm? The Namo Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva explained. Secondly, the astronomical phenomenon of myriad stars shining in the sun is far from what an ordinary great sage of the demon race can do. This must be related to the 7th great sage, not some secret technique of the demon race. The dragon-slaying Arhat opened his mouth and wanted to refute, but he swallowed his words. He bowed and said, Namo Amitabha, this disciple thanks the Bodhisattva for his teachings. Senior brother Samantabhadra. The Namo Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva smiled again. The demon realm is the demon realm. My Buddha is in my heart. Why should I care if it's myriad stars shining in the sun? Yes, junior brother Manjushri is right. The Namo Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva nodded. This seat is concerned. Vaishravana. At this moment, Mahavairakana Buddha spoke. Did you hear anything? Vaishravana hurriedly said, Revered one, this disciple didn't hear it clearly, but vaguely. It should be the ranking of the 7 great sages of the demon race's Great Sage Temple. The current first great sage is no longer the golden-winged rock, but the heaven-defying thunder phoenix. The 5-colored seashell that used to be ranked 4th also fell to the bottom. What puzzles this disciple the most is that the 6 great sages of the demon race who have always been fighting each other to the death have become sworn brothers with the heaven-defying thunder phoenix. Oh, how can this be? The Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva and the Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva were stunned. Manjushri, the Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, didn't seem to want to say more about this matter. Instead, he asked, "Where is the sutra-seeking bliss now?" Revered one, the Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva hurriedly replied, "It's already at the northern part of the Pure Land world, the peak of the South Sea. It won't take long before it crosses the sea and leaves the Pure Land world. Namo Amitba. We're halfway through the sutra-seeking bliss. Don't make any changes. Be careful." This disciple understands. The Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva smiled bitterly. Ever since Chuanzong took in a demon race named Jieqi, the path of seeking the sutra-seeking bliss has become smooth. Even if there are any changes, this powerful demon race will stifle them. As he spoke, the Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva looked up at the Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. The Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva nodded at the Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva with a smile. Vaishravana Heavenly King, Vaishravana Heavenly King, the Namal Mahatma Samantabhadra Bodhisattva said. The situation in the 3 continents is very complicated. The 1,000 demons sacred realm and the 7 sages have become sworn brothers. The sutra-seeking bliss is between the Pure Land world and the hidden immortal continent. The Star Moon Palace that the humans and demons are searching for seems to be appearing as well. Keep an eye on the 3 continents. If there are any changes, report it immediately. Chapter 4456. Yes, disciple understands. Heavenly King Vaishravana and Heavenly King Verpka placed their palms together and received the Buddhist edict. Namal Mahasabha Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, stay behind. The rest of you, leave, said the Dipankara archaic Buddha. Namo Amitba, as the Buddhas chanted, they gradually faded into the void, leaving only the Buddhist radiances and lotus shadows in the thunderclap temple. After the Buddhist radiances faded, the Namal Mahasabha Samantabhadra Bodhisattva bowed and asked, "World Exalted One, may I know why you asked this disciple to stay behind? Let me ask you, that abstaining from eating, where did it come from?" The Dipankara archaic Buddha opened his eyes and asked calmly. When Chuanzong and his 3 disciples ascended the Great Snowy Mountain, this disciple didn't exist. However, after descending from the Great Snowy Mountain, this demon appeared. At that time, only you and the Namal Maitreya Buddha were on the Great Snowy Mountain. I'm afraid you're the only one who knows the origin of abstaining from eating. The Namal Mahasabha Samantabhadra Bodhisattva smiled bitterly and said, "World Exalted One, this disciple does know about this. However, this matter involves the Namal Maitreya Buddha, World Exalted One. May I ask the Namal Maitreya Buddha, World Exalted One?" At this point, the Namal Mahasabha Samantabhadra Bodhisattva pondered for a while and said, "However, from what this disciple knows, this abstaining from eating respects Chuanzong from the bottom of his heart. He's definitely one of the most devout Buddhas in our Buddhism. Similarly, he wouldn't obstruct the sutra praying for nirvana in any way." Sai Samantabhadra, the sutra praying for nirvana has reached this stage. It really makes one speechless. The Dipankara archaic Buddha sighed and said, "If an 8th grade essence force demon is to protect Chuanzong, how could there be any difficulties along the way? This sutra praying for nirvana, wouldn't it become a joke?" The Namal Mahasabha Samantabhadra Bodhisattva naturally knew what the Dipankara archaic Buddha meant. However, he was helpless and could only bow. "Exalted One, this disciple doesn't have any better ideas. Samantabhadra, you may leave. Discuss with Manjushri and see what we can do about this matter." Mahavairakana revered Buddha's eyes did not open as he ordered lightly. "Yes, revered one of the world, I understand." Samantabhadra Bodhisattva bowed. The Buddhist light gradually dimmed as he left the Lane temple. Looking at the silent thunderclap temple and the ever-changing Buddha clouds, The Dipankara archaic Buddha World Lord said in a low voice. World Lord, previously, the World Lord mentioned that the Namo Maitreya Buddha World Lord is afraid of harming my Thunderclap temple. Is this abstinence from eating? Could it be that he wants to get his hands on the fruit of sutra-seeking nirvana? Namo Amitabha. The Mahavairakana Buddha opened his eyes. His eyes were as bright as torches, with the sun, moon, and stars being extinguished one after another. He then said to the Namo Dipankara archaic Buddha, Senior Apprentice Brother, I'm unable to see through this matter, nor am I able to explain it. Does Senior Martial Brother feel anything? No. The Namo Dipankara archaic Buddha shook his head as well. I didn't feel anything either. If the Maitreya Buddha comes out of seclusion, I can ask him. The Mahavairakana Buddha World Lord said. However, from Samantabhadra's words, this abstinence is a disciple of my Buddha. He wants to protect Chuanzang out of pure Buddha's heart. It shouldn't affect the sutra-seeking nirvana. It shouldn't affect the Thunderclap temple either. Only, Senior Martial Brother, you have to arrange more tribulations to prevent the immortal palace from having any evidence against you. Yes, I understand. The Dipankara archaic Buddha World Lord nodded. I'll ask Samantabhadra and Manjushri to pay more attention to this matter. However, Chuanzang and his disciples will soon cross the South Sea and East Sea, and return to the buried immortal continent. The immortal palace will be the ones having a headache. Amitabha, the immortal palace isn't just having a headache over the sutra-seeking nirvana. The Mahavairakana Buddha World Lord smiled and said, they're having a headache over the 1,000 demons' sacred territory. Senior Martial Brother, do you still remember the 4 great continents that we descended upon during the Golden Body first cycle? The Dipankara archaic Buddha pondered for a while and asked, are you talking about the demon ancestor of the desolate era upper worlds? Amitabha, that's right. The Mahavairakana Buddha World Lord nodded. Star of myriad stars. I remember it very clearly. The demon of myriad demons. The Dipankara archaic Buddha shook his head and sighed. Sai Namo Amitabha. The demon race is too daring. How long has it been? And how many worlds have we been apart? How did another demon of myriad demons appear in the 1,000 demons' sacred realm? Wherever the demon of myriad demons goes, a sea of blood will be born, and vengeful souls will never cease to exist. Senior Martial Brother, our Pure Lands will have to increase our vigilance from today onwards. We might have to face the demon of myriad demons after the sutra praying in nirvana. The Mahavairakana Buddha World Lord reminded. The Dipankara archaic Buddha World Lord nodded and said, you're right, World Lord. I'll immediately send out a Buddhist decree to the heavenly kings and Bantis to increase their vigilance. Amitabha, my Buddha is merciful. Knowing that the 3 continents would face a tribulation, he arranged for the 2 bodhisattvas and the Maitreya Buddha World Lord to descend upon our 3 continents. With our Buddhism sect's current strength, even if the demon race has the 7 great sages, we won't be at a disadvantage. The Mahavairakana Buddha World Lord clasped his palms together and said with an indescribable benevolence, on the other hand, the immortal palace should be the strongest. Even if we don't consider the 100 schools of thought's unwillingness to accept the military school, their strength seems to have fallen into a disadvantage. The immortal palace had already fallen into a disadvantage before the sutra praying in nirvana. How could they possibly turn the tables around now? The Dipankara archaic Buddha World Lord calmly replied. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a strange glint flashed across his eyes, which were as calm as a dry well, and he said, also Supreme of the world, I'm not sure if you noticed, but before the star of 10,000 stars appeared, there seemed to be a movement in the 1,000 demons' sacred realm that surpassed the laws of the 3 continents. Amitabha, the Mahavairakana Buddha World Lord's face was also filled with surprise. He nodded and said, Senior Martial Brother is right. Let alone this disturbance, there have been many disturbances that transcended the laws of the 3 continents recently. It's just that this disturbance came from the past. It swept past the present and rushed straight into the future. If the Maitreya Buddha World Lord was here, he might be able to see something. However, Senior Martial Brother and I might not be able to see through it. World Lord, the Dipankara archaic Buddha World Lord hesitated for a moment before saying, Do you think it's related to the two from the moon-embracing palace? Or is it related to that person in the thousand demons sacred realm? If I'm not mistaken, it should be. The Mahavairakana Buddha world lord nodded and said, only the disturbance caused by those two could trigger the laws of the heavens and earth, allowing them to avoid our Buddhism mystical arts. Moreover, it said that the Star Moon Palace will appear in the thousand demons sacred realm's Crimson Earth River. It should be caused by those two, right? However, those two have always kept a low profile and never caused any trouble in the three continents. Unless something special happened, they wouldn't use their mystical arts. As for that person in the thousand demons sacred realm, I feel that she doesn't have such a high cultivation. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that she's arrogant and domineering, offending those two. Anyway, they're all in the thousand demons sacred realm. We don't have to be too concerned. Right now, the most important thing for our Buddhism sect is to complete the sutra praying in extreme bliss. Amitabha, my Buddha is merciful. I hope that those two will always be merciful. The Dipankara archaic Buddha world lord's chanting spread far and wide within the spacious Thunder Sound Temple, and didn't stop for a long time. If the Thunder Sound Temple's past Buddha Lord and present Buddha Lord could sense the movement of the stars in the thousand demons sacred realm, how could the Immortal Palace's immortal emperor Gochin not know? Within the Immortal Palace's Cloud Ascension Hall, the immortal emperor's mountain-like figure remained tall and straight on the huge golden throne. Hundreds of dragon-shaped destinies carried thousands of inscriptions around the golden throne. Although they seemed to be moving freely, they were also circulating in a mysterious trajectory. In front of the immortal emperor's eyes, a huge starry sky had just been concealed. The clouds surrounding the starry sky still had dazzling starlight flickering. It seemed like the myriad of stars in the thousand demons sacred realm had also covered the golden throne's radiance. Everyone, as the immortal emperor opened his mouth, the destinies around him immediately converged into his indomitable figure. However, his voice was still as deafening as thunder. It was obvious that the immortal emperor's current emotions were stirred up. You all have seen it. You all have also heard the clairaudience report. Do you all have anything to say? As he spoke, two faint golden lights flashed from the heaven and earth crown on the immortal emperor's head. It was obvious that the immortal emperor was looking around. Currently within the Cloud Ascension Hall, other than Tai Bai Jingxing and the other civil officials, Heavenly King Qingyu, Heavenly King Fuyu, and the other generals, there was also the Nangong family's young master, Nangong Jingyin. Hearing the immortal emperor's words, the officials glanced at each other. Just as they were about to speak, Nangong Jingyin uncharacteristically took half a step forward and bowed. Your Majesty, this humble subject has something to say. The immortal emperor was clearly dazed. Tai Bai Jingxing and the others also frowned. After all, Nangong Jingyin wasn't considered an official of the Cloud Ascension Hall. Even if he wanted to speak, he had to wait for Tai Bai Jingxing and Heavenly King Qingyu to finish. Speak. The immortal emperor spoke. Your Majesty. Nangong Jingyin's square face revealed a trace of understanding. He said, this humble subject has read our Nangong family's books since young. Not only did I study the teachings of the human race, but I also dabbled in the inheritance of the beast race. Whether it was the 13 great saints of the beast race at their peak or the 2 great saints of the beast race at their weakest, this humble subject has some understanding of them. However, this humble subject has never heard of a 7-star great saint appearing in the beast race today. This humble subject remembers that the beast race once had a 2-star great saint who attracted the 7 kills star and knowledge star of the Southern Dipper into his body. This great saint of the beast race was called the heaven-flipping great saint, and boasted that he could flip the heavens. That day, the beast race of the Thousand Beasts sacred realm rebelled. Our immortal palace sent Fu Hai Heavenly King, Pingyao Heavenly King, and Jipeng Heavenly King to suppress them. Our immortal soldiers and generals were unstoppable, and fought all the way to the great sage palace of the Thousand Beasts sacred realm. The only 2 great sages of the great sage palace went to stop the 3 heavenly kings. The immortal palace Lord Ziwei Immortal Emperor, and the Taiching Palace Lord appeared to face the enemy. The 4 supreme cultivators of our 3 continents fought for 3 days, and that heaven-flipping great saint's power actually surpassed Ziwei Immortal Emperor. He used the power of 2 stars to injure Ziwei Immortal Emperor, and then joined forces with another great saint to destroy the Taiqing Palace Lord's main body. Since that battle, our human race knew that the 2-star Great Saint of the Beast race was more than a level stronger than normal Great Saints. Of course, this battle happened a long time ago, and this humble subject doesn't know if anyone still remembers it. Today, this new Great Saint of the Beast race actually attracted the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. He's probably even stronger than heaven-flipping Great Saint. Chapter 4457. You're right. Immortal Emperor Gochen praised. This is a secret of my immortal palace. Even the officials of the immortal palace don't know about it. It's rare for your Nangong family to have such a clear record. Your Majesty. Nangong Jingyin's expression changed slightly, and she hastily bowed. I know that this is a secret, but I don't dare to not report it. The rise of the demon race is a nightmare for our human race. I would rather report it than be punished by your Majesty. I'm not that muddle-headed. Immortal Emperor Gochen sneered. Speak your mind. Yes, your Majesty. Nangong Jingyin was neither arrogant nor rash as she continued. However, I still have a huge doubt. I wonder if your Majesty can clear it up for me. Speak. Immortal Emperor Gochen ordered. I've just said that I'm willing to make any sacrifice for the prosperity of our human race. Thus, I usually pay attention to the movements of the 1,000 demon sacred realm and the extreme world. I have some understanding of the 6 great sages of the 1,000 demon sacred realm. Nangong Jingyin said respectfully. However, I've never heard of this heaven-defying lightning phoenix's name. I also didn't know that the phoenix race, which has long been declining in the 1,000 demon sacred realm, actually had such a great sage. Can your Majesty please tell me which demon realm this heaven-defying lightning phoenix came from? Needless to say, Nangong Jingyin was trying to flatter Immortal Emperor Gochen. Unexpectedly, Immortal Emperor Gochen faintly replied. What you know, I also know. What you don't know, I also don't know. I also want to ask the 4 great clans. Who can tell me where this 7-star heaven-defying lightning phoenix that suddenly appeared came from? Nangong Jingyin took in a cold breath and hastily bowed. I know my mistake. Please punish me, your Majesty. What mistake did you make? If you're guilty, then wouldn't I be even more guilty? Immortal Emperor Gochen was clearly a bit angry as he said coldly, just like what Virokana Revered said. The appearance of the heaven-defying lightning phoenix was a huge blow to the Confucian cultivators of the hidden immortal continent. Nangong Jingyin's forehead were already covered in cold sweat. The feeling of flattering the emperor, Gochen, was truly uncomfortable. Young Master Nangong. Taibai Jinxing, who was beside him, said, when we entered the hall, this old man heard you say that you had come to the Hall of Fragrance to meet the East Sea Empress. It's getting late now. Aren't you going to greet her? Nangong Jingyin let out a sigh of relief and hurriedly said, Your Majesty, this lowly subject doesn't know much about the court, and was only speaking off the cuff. Please forgive this lowly subject's crime on account that this lowly subject is wholeheartedly thinking for the human race. I came to the Lingyun Palace to report to His Majesty, and pay my respects to the Celestial Empress in the Hall of Fragrance. Go. Immortal Emperor Gochen didn't say much and ordered. Thank you, Your Majesty. Nangong Jingyin got up and turned to look at Taibai Jinxing. Her eyes were filled with gratitude as she left in a hurry. Before Nangong Jingyin could leave, Fuyue Heavenly King sneered. A brat dares to show off in front of me? Geezer Taibai, you are making things up. I want to see how this brat is going to deal with this. Taibai Jinxing innocently waved his horsetail whisk and replied. I don't dare to make things up in front of His Majesty. He came to pay respects to the Celestial Empress. Damn it. Why is he paying respects to the Celestial Empress for no reason? Fuyue Heavenly King snorted. Truly a weasel paying respects to the chicken Ching. You quickly interrupted Fuyue Heavenly King, and said to Immortal Emperor Gochen. This lowly subject has 3 questions. Your Majesty, please tell Heaven's secret hall to quickly investigate. Speak. Although Immortal Emperor Gochen's face couldn't be seen clearly, this one word contained a myriad of thunderbolts. He was probably pissed off by Fuyue Heavenly King. Firstly, the origin of this heaven-defying lightning phoenix. Secondly, What exactly was that constellation transit just now? Thirdly, why did the Great Sage Hall's 5-colored sea god shell suddenly drop from the 4th Great Sage to the 7th Great Sage? Qingyu explained in detail. As long as Heaven's Secret Hall can investigate these 3 matters, the situation in the Thousand Demon Sacred Realm will be clear. Immortal Emperor Gochen nodded and said, "Summon Heaven's Secret Hall's Xie Xian. This lowly subject is here." A voice came from outside the Overcloud Palace. Then, the Heavenly Secret Hall's Palace Master Xie Xian appeared in front of everyone. "Did you hear what Heavenly King Qingyu said?" Immortal Emperor Go Chun went straight to the point. Xie Xian bowed and said, "This lowly subject knows. This lowly subject has already sent elite disciples to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. They will return in a few days." Immortal Emperor Go Chun was very satisfied and asked, "What is the matter? Why are you waiting outside the palace?" "Your Majesty, this lowly subject has an important matter to report," Xie Xian said in a low voice. Immortal Emperor Go Chun looked around and said, "Can everyone hear me?" Xie Xian thought for a bit and nodded. "Yes. Okay, speak." Immortal Emperor Go Chun ordered. "Your Majesty, this lowly subject has 3 important matters to report. First, there are several 100,000 high-level cultivators from the Tao Gate inside the Thousand Demon Sacred Realm that are drawing upon the worldly origin energy." Before Xie Xian could finish, Heavenly King Qingyu interrupted him in shock and shouted, How? How is this possible? Palace Master Xie, how many 100,000 are you talking about? Your so-called high-level cultivator. What kind of cultivator is he?" Heavenly King Qingyu. Although Xie Xian was interrupted, he was not angry at all and continued to answer slowly. "It might be between 150,000 and 250,000. As for their realm, it should be above the nascent soul realm, or even below the body integration realm. This is the funniest thing in the world." Heavenly King Qingyu laughed and waved his hand. "There aren't that many Tao Gate cultivators in the entire hidden immortal continent. This is impossible." Unfortunately, Xie Xian ignored Heavenly King Qingyu and continued to report. Second, before the stars illuminated the sun, a large-scale worldly law appeared in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. This law far surpasses the inscription chains of my immortal palace. It can't be? Taibai Jinxing was even more shocked than Heavenly King Qingyu. Far surpasses the inscription chains of my immortal palace. Then it surpasses the worldly law of the 3 continents? How is this possible? Third, at the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm's Chitty River, there was an abnormal spatial ripple. The Xingyue Palace that Xingyue is looking for should have appeared there. Xie Xian still ignored Taibai Jinxing and finished the last matter. After Xie Xian finished speaking, the entire Lingyun Palace was silent. Taibai Jinxing and Heavenly King Qingyu looked at each other. They knew that Xie Xian of the Heaven's Secret Palace was a man of his word. He replaced Immortal Emperor Go Chen to control the 3 continents. He definitely wouldn't exaggerate things like Nangong Jingyin. What he said was definitely the truth. After a while, Immortal Emperor Go Chen said. Xie Xian, hearing Immortal Emperor Go Chen directly call his name, Xie Xian's expression turned serious. He bowed and said, "I'm here. From today onwards, you will temporarily be in charge of the Hall of Enlightenment. Increase the intensity of monitoring the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm and the Pure Land world. You must investigate the Great Sage Palace's heaven-defying Lightning Phoenix and Thunder Temple's Namo Mithriya Buddha's foundation." Immortal Emperor Gochen ordered. "If there is any movement, immediately report to me." "Yes, I understand." Xie Xian nodded. "I'll take my leave. Go." Immortal Emperor Go Chen ordered. Just as Xie Xian turned around, Immortal Emperor Go Chen seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked, "Oh right, where is the sutra seeking extreme bliss?" Xie Xian was stunned. He could only stop and report, "Your Majesty, according to what I know, Chunzong and his group have already reached the northern part of the Pure Land world. They're about to cross the Eastern Sea." "Oh, that's pretty fast." Immortal Emperor Go Chen nodded. "Of course it's pretty fast." Xie Xian smiled and said, "Chunzong took in a demon around the 8th level essence force. How many Taoist cultivators in this world are his match?" What's the origin of this chastity ring? You still haven't found it? Immortal Emperor Go-Chen asked unhappily. Xie Xian hesitated for a bit and whispered. This matter belongs to the Hall of Enlightenment. Xie Xian stopped here and lowered his head. I understand. I'll send more people to let your majesty know. Who else wants to interfere with the sutra-seeking extreme bliss? Why don't we just look for Zhenhan and ask her? Taibai Jingxing frowned and asked in a low voice. That's right. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen nodded. Send someone secretly to ask. Yes, Xie Xian left after saying that. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen looked at Taibai Jingxing and said, Minister, since the sutra-seeking extreme bliss is at Burial Immortal Continent, the responsibility is on us Confucian cultivators. If you have time, go take a look and make sure nothing goes wrong. Yes, I understand. Taibai Jingxing nodded without hesitation. I'll go to the Eastern Sea to deal with the heavenly protector of the Buddhist sect. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen nodded and looked at Heavenly King Qingyu. Heavenly King Qingyu, the 7 great saints of the demon race have sworn brotherhood. Regardless of whether it's just a formality, it's undeniable that the unity of the great saints of the 1,000 demons' sacred realm is unprecedented. If nothing goes wrong, the demon race will stabilize and they'll think of making a move. Our 1,000 demons' sacred realm will be the first to be affected. Regardless of whether the hundreds of thousands of Taoist cultivators are primordial chaos ancestors' subordinates, our immortal palace must be prepared for war. Yes, I understand. Heavenly King Qingyu cupped his fists and said, I'll prepare the troops after the court session ends. Your Majesty. Taibai Jingxing hesitated for a moment, as if he was thinking. Then Taibai Jingxing said, since perfected cultivator Qing Yuan was mysteriously killed, the position of General of the Sun Palace has been vacant. Our immortal palace needs a general who can fight in battles. What do you have in mind, Your Majesty? Sigh, perfected cultivator Qing Yuan's disappearance is strange. I can't find him even with the supreme heavenly mirror. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen sighed. I haven't thought about the position of General of the Sun Palace. Oh, since my beloved subject mentioned this, does my beloved subject have any suggestions? Chapter 4458. Your Majesty, there's something you don't know. Taibai Jingxing bowed and said, Sun Palace's General Sun Jian was extremely loyal but not strong enough. First, he had an affair with a Taoist remnant, then he went missing while guarding Black Ruins Mountain. I feel that the position of Sun Palace's general must be strong enough to intimidate the Taoists and conquer the world. I've been visiting the famous mountains and rivers a while ago, and met a remnant of my school of the military. I saw a void refinement and heavenly fusion general, so I've brought him to the immortal palace for Your Majesty to make a decision. A void refinement and heavenly fusion martial saint? Heavenly King Fuyue couldn't help but shout. How is that possible? There's a martial saint in this world that I don't know about? Heavenly King Qingyu's expression also turned ugly. He stared at Taibai Jingxing and said, Old man Taibai, the position of Sun Palace's general requires absolute loyalty. Where did you find a martial saint? How dare you make him the Sun Palace's general? This person is from one of my school of the military. His name is Sun Chou. Taibai Jingxing smiled and said, I can vouch for Sun Chou's loyalty. Of course, whether or not he can become the Sun Palace's general depends on Your Majesty's decision. Summon Immortal Emperor Gaochen didn't say much and only ordered. Not long after, a burly general holding a 3-pointed, double-edged sword strode up to the Lingyun Palace. This general was wearing a golden chainmail, and the 2 thick eyebrows on his face that were exposed outside of the armor contained a murderous aura. His round eyes flashed with murderous intent. Above the armor, rays of righteous aura shuttled like sharp swords. Before the general even got close, Heavenly King Fuyue felt his body turn cold. He couldn't help but feel like he was being stared at by a ferocious beast. 3-pointed, double-edged sword? Heavenly King Qingyu saw the weapon in the general's hand and couldn't help but exclaim. Isn't that Sun Jian's weapon? Sun Chou greets the immortal emperor. The general walked to the front of the palace and bowed. Rise. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen said indifferently. He waved his hand and a ray of light as bright as the sun flew out from his hand, illuminating the entire overcloud palace. Then another ray of light shot out and covered Sun Cho. Rumble, a series of thunderbolts came out from the light pillar. Then, the entire Lingyun palace was engulfed in darkness except for the light pillar. Looking into the light pillar, Sun Chao's figure gradually became transparent. Then, his figure fluttered like a butterfly. Strings of illusory images were elongated, and within each of these illusory images, there were thousands of mountains, rivers, and stories of people. After half a cup of tea's time, the light gradually dimmed. Light also seeped out from the darkness of the Lingyun hall. By the time the light pillar completely disappeared, Sun Chao's body had once again returned to its original state. Tai Bai Jinxing, Heavenly King Qingyu, Heavenly King Fuyu, and the others all had the ability to clear their eyes. Even though Sun Chao's silhouette appeared in the supreme heavenly mirror like a flash of light, and the scenes that each silhouette depicted flashed by, everything that Sun Cho had experienced in this life was still vivid in their minds. Tai Bai Jinxing smiled and bowed. "Congratulations, Your Majesty. This is Your Majesty's grace to the world, and the people of the world love Your Majesty. The heavens have bestowed such a blessing to Your Majesty. With such a fierce general, our immortal palace will not be at a disadvantage against the Thunder Temple and the Great Sage Hall." Haha. Haha. Immortal Emperor Go Chen was clearly happy. He actually laughed twice. Then he looked at Heavenly King Qingyu and Heavenly King Fuyu and asked, "What do you two think?" Your Majesty. Heavenly King Qingyu bowed and said, "Sun Cho has always been innocent. He is a descendant of the school of the military. Moreover, he was able to cultivate to the martial saint realm in the lower realm. The hardships he had to go through are not something an ordinary person can endure. Such a person with a strong mind is the pillar of the school of the military. I feel that if there is no problem with his loyalty, he is more than qualified to be the great general of the Sun Palace." Your Majesty. Heavenly King Fuyu frowned and said, "I want to see Sun Chao's three-pointed double-edged saber." Haha. Immortal Emperor Go Chen laughed and said, "Not just you. Even I am very curious. There are many weapons in the world, and Sun Jian is probably the most famous one to use the three-pointed double-edged saber. However, I did not expect that after Sun Jian, Sun Cho would also use the three-pointed double-edged saber as a weapon. Could it be that this three-pointed double-edged saber was left behind by Sun Jian?" Your Majesty. Sun Cho said respectfully, "This weapon has been used by me since I was young. It is different from the three-pointed double-edged saber in perfected cultivator Qing Yuan's hands." "Sun Cho, show me your weapon." Heavenly King Fuyu raised his hand and said, "Sorry." Unexpectedly, Sun Cho refused. "This is the weapon of this commoner. I can't let others control it as they wish." "Damn it." Heavenly King Fuyu shouted. "I am the Heavenly King of the Immortal Palace. Even if you are the great general of the Sun Palace, you are still my subordinate. My words are military orders. How dare you not listen?" "So what if I don't listen?" Sun Cho sneered and said, "A real man stands on his own in the world. There are things that he should do and things that he should not do. If he can't even grasp a few principles, how can he be loyal? Then go to hell." Heavenly King Fuyu roared angrily, and his voice shook the Lingyun Palace. The space around Sun Cho cracked inch by inch, and pillars of Aoran Qi shot towards Sun Cho like flying swords. At the same time, Heavenly King Fuyu raised his right hand, and a curved saber that looked like a silver moon strangely appeared from his waist. Everyone felt their vision blur, and the moonlight on the curved saber flashed past space and landed behind Sun Chao's neck. The cold moonlight was hidden in the lightning. In an instant, Sun Chao's eyes narrowed into needles. He muttered, "Heavenly King of the Immortal Palace is nothing more than this." Although his voice was low, it contained grief and anger. The moment the words came out, they also condensed into 8 balls of Aoran Qi. Boom boom boom, they all burst in front of Sun Chao's eyes. The balls of Aoran Qi first shattered the space around Sun Cho, and the thin cracks in space were like spider webs that affected the space that Heavenly King Fuyu shattered. When the two shattered spaces collided, the space around Sun Cho collapsed. However, because Sun Cho had already broken the space close to his body in advance, the space about a foot to the left of him was stable. Even Heavenly King Fuyu's curved saber, that was like the autumn moon, trembled slightly in the collapse of space, like ripples in water. Just as the ripples appeared, clanged the three-pointed, double-edged saber in Sun Chao's hand moved, piercing into the gap between the ripples. As the metal clanged, the autumn moon was like the moon in the water that was shattered. The three-pointed, double-edged saber was like a flood dragon that came out of the water, piercing into the void and stabbing towards Heavenly King Fuyu's heart. Seeing the silver light in the void, the breastplate at his heart made pung-pung-pung sounds, and the hundreds of inscriptions on it were already shattered. How could Heavenly King Fuyu not know that the wind from the three-pointed, double-edged saber had already struck? A solemn expression appeared on his face as he quickly retreated. A golden hammer the size of a fist appeared in his left hand. Whoosh, the sound of wind whistling could be heard. Pooh, two inexplicable sounds could be heard. In front of Heavenly King Fuyu, the light of the three-pointed, double-edged blade flashed and disappeared. Heavenly King Fuyu's body also stiffened. He lowered his head to look at the pendant on his waist. There were already cracks on it. When Heavenly King Fuyu raised his head, Sun Cho was already standing there with the three-pointed, double-edged saber in his hand. His face was neither arrogant nor humble, as calm as a virgin. General Sun, Heavenly King Fuyu smiled bitterly. I only wanted to see if your three-pointed, double-edged saber was the same as Sun Jian's. You don't have to put me on the spot like this, do you? My apologies. Sun Cho said indifferently. This is my first time in the Immortal Palace, so I do not know the etiquette. Please forgive me, Heavenly King. Forget it, forget it. Heavenly King Fuyu waved his hand and said self-deprecatingly. A great person does not hold a grudge against a lowly person. If you say so, what else can I say? My dear subject, Immortal Emperor Gaochen smiled and asked. Compared to the previous Sun Jian, who is stronger? Is this three-pointed, double-edged saber the same as Sun Jian's? Your Majesty. Heavenly King Fuyu smiled bitterly. Do I even need to say this? The previous Sun Jian's strength compared to the current Sun Cho is not even worthy of carrying his shoes. That three-pointed, double-edged saber compared to this one is a fire rod. What nonsense are you talking about? Heavenly King Qingyu scolded. Sun Jian's three-pointed, double-edged saber was forged by a great artificer of the Immortal Palace. How can it be a fire rod? I am just making an analogy. Heavenly King Fuyu was not angry and smiled. With this three-pointed double-edged saber, Sun Cho is like a tiger that has grown wings. His strength has increased by 30%. No wonder this guy is unwilling to show his weapon to others. Heavenly King Qingyu smiled and said, Your Majesty, this Sun Cho is much stronger than the previous true monarch Qingyuan. Moreover, his character is somewhat similar to true monarch Qingyuan. If there is no problem in terms of loyalty, I feel that there is no problem with him becoming the Sun Palace's great general. Yes, I think so too. Immortal Emperor Gaochen nodded and said. However, I am still a bit worried. Sun Cho is strong, but the Sun Palace's great general needs to lead troops. I am afraid that Sun Cho does not have any experience in this area. If that is the case, then there is even less need for your Majesty to worry. Heavenly King Qingyu replied. With the situation in the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm, who knows when they will start a war with our hidden immortal continent? The Sun Palace's great general will have plenty of opportunities to lead troops. There is no need to wait until then. Heavenly King Fuyu said with a smile. I remember that the Hall of Enlightenment sent a report saying that there are Taoism remnants running rampant in the soaring Dragon Mountain range in the lower realm. The Lunar Temple has already dispatched troops to deal with them. If the Sun Palace's great general is willing, you can go there. What? The Lunar Temple dispatched troops to deal with the soaring Dragon Mountain range? Immortal Emperor Gaochen was stunned. When did this happen? Your Majesty, Tai Bai Jinxing said. It happened the day before yesterday. Why didn't I know? Why didn't they send a report? Immortal Emperor Gaochen asked. Chapter 4459. Tai Bai Jinxing was taken aback by Immortal Emperor Go Chen's rebuke. He smiled wryly and said, Your Majesty, you have 1,000 things to attend to every day and control the foundation of our human race for millions of years. There are too many things that require your Majesty's attention, so there is no need to report such a trivial matter. After receiving the report from the Hall of Enlightenment, the Lunar Temple has already sent out their troops. After they sent out their troops, This lowly official has already approved the reports that they sent out. Haha, Immortal Emperor Gochen chuckled and said, I'm also confused by the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. Taibai Jinxing. Yes, Your Majesty. Taibai Jinxing said anxiously. Write a decree for Sun Cho to temporarily assume the position of Sun Palace's Great General. Announce it to the world when he has military merits. Immortal Emperor Gochen ordered. I understand. Taibai Jinxing bowed and said. Sun Cho hurriedly bowed and said, Thank you, Your Majesty. Okay, General Sun, wait at the side. I still have some things to ask you about the military family's descendants after the discussion, Immortal Emperor Gochen ordered. I understand. Sun Cho stood up and stood beside everyone. Then Immortal Emperor Gochen discussed the Immortal Palace and the hidden Immortal Continent with Taibai Jinxing and the others. However, Sun Cho was obviously absent-minded, as if he had something important on his mind. After the discussion, everyone dispersed. Immortal Emperor Gochen looked at Sun Cho, who was frowning, and raised his hand. Boom! The entire heavenly palace surged and changed again. A study-like palace appeared. At this moment, Immortal Emperor Gochen's huge body had returned to normal. The golden brilliance faded away, revealing his original appearance. Oh, Sun Jian. Immortal Emperor Gochen stood up from his golden chair and walked to Sun Cho. He said curiously, You look like you have something on your mind? Sun Cho was obviously Sun Jian, who had disguised himself. Sun Jian, who was proficient in the 9 transformations, could easily disguise himself as Sun Cho. Under Immortal Emperor Gochen's disguise, how could the illusion realm in the Supreme Heavenly Mirror be real? Sigh, Your Majesty. Sun Jian sighed and said, When I returned to the Immortal Palace, the first thing I told Your Majesty was that you don't have to worry about the Taoism cultivators for now. Especially that place called the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. No matter what happens, Your Majesty must wait and see. After all, Xiaohua of the Tao sect. At this point, Sun Jian hesitated. This Xiaohua? Immortal Emperor Gochen's brows furrowed as he asked. Even if it's as you say, he's only a human Grand Ascension stage being. Even if he founded the Fortune Gate, how can it compare to the Immortal Palace? Your Majesty, Sun Tian said with a wry smile. I've said what I can say. Your Majesty, please don't embarrass me for what I can't say. I'm loyal to Your Majesty and the Immortal Palace. Similarly, I have to make some compromises for some things without affecting Your Majesty's safety. Yes, I understand. Immortal Emperor Gochen nodded. A loyal person with his own principles is a true loyal person. However, the matter of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range, I truly didn't know about it. It was my slip of the tongue, and I also made you break your promise. Sai Sun Jian sighed. Since they've already sent out their troops, it's no longer appropriate for me to go out and stop them. Even His Majesty could not change his orders. I can only wait for an opportunity in the future to explain to Xiaohua. I hope he can understand. If it's possible, Immortal Emperor Gochen smiled. You should also express my goodwill. Xiaohua was able to save you, and he is indeed a benevolent person. You didn't get to know him in vain. Your Majesty is wrong. Sun Tian corrected. A cultivator like Xiaohua still needs Your Majesty to personally recruit him. If I could recruit him, why would I wait until now? Oh, right. Immortal Emperor Gochen smiled when he heard Sun Jian describe Xiaohua as a rare person. He felt that Sun Jian was making a mountain out of a molehill, so he changed the topic and asked, What's the progress on Sun Hao's matter? Sun Jian and Immortal Emperor Gochen's thoughts were completely opposite. He felt that Immortal Emperor Gochen was too dismissive. However, he couldn't say anything more to Immortal Emperor Gochen, so he could only reply, Your Majesty, there are some clues. However, these clues don't seem to be much. It seems like there are traces of the gray serpent worm thread. However, when I really investigated it, there were actually too many clues. I simply couldn't find the source. There are only a few literary stars in the Immortal Palace. Immortal Emperor Gochen's face became gloomy. Why can't you find it? Your Majesty, Sun Jian smiled bitterly. However, all the literary stars are my seniors. Moreover, I can't expose my whereabouts, so naturally, it's not easy to find. Also, Who knows if the one who occupied Sun Hao's body was a literary star in the Immortal Palace or a literary star in the hidden Immortal Continent? Maybe it's a ploy by some aristocratic family to divert the disaster. Humph, there are only a few people who can covet my position. Immortal Emperor Gochen snorted and said, "Actually, even if you don't say it, I can guess who it is. Unfortunately, that Sun Hao is too cunning. I only borrowed the power of the 3 provinces of thunder. The moment I saw him, he immediately realized it and didn't allow me to attack. He immediately self-destructed. He didn't give me a chance at all." "Your Majesty," Sun Jian reminded. "You must be careful. Sun Hao knows your Majesty's methods very well. His self-destruction was completely aimed at your Majesty's magic power. Even with the power of the Supreme Heavenly Mirror and your Majesty's method of controlling the hidden Immortal Continent, you still couldn't find his secret. It shows how well your Majesty's enemy knows your Majesty." "Alas, you're absolutely right." Immortal Emperor Gochen sighed and said, "The people who know themselves the best are not those who love themselves, but those who hate themselves. This principle is unbreakable throughout the ages." "It's a pity that I don't have much time left," Sun Jian said regretfully. "Perhaps it won't be long before that person discovers my secret. At that time, I won't be able to investigate it anymore." Immortal Emperor Gochen was stunned and asked curiously, "Sun Jian, what do you mean? Didn't I let you temporarily take over the position of the Sun Palace's great general to give you some leeway to create a false impression for that person?" Sun Jian smiled and looked at Immortal Emperor Gochen, saying, "Your Majesty, do you think that with the Maitreya Buddha, the Thunder Temple's strength will surpass my Immortal Palace? With the addition of a 7 stars Great Saint, the Great Sage Temple's strength will surpass my Immortal Palace?" If it was someone else, Immortal Emperor Gochen wouldn't reveal his true feelings. However, facing Sun Jian, he showed a bitter expression and replied, "Yes, if the demon race and the Buddha sect had one more pure 9th level essence force expert, I wouldn't be so distressed. However, the Maitreya Buddha of the Thunder Temple is one of the 3 great Buddha lords. The heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix of the Great Sage Temple is a 7 stars Great Saint. Their influence is incomparable to that of an ordinary 9th level essence force." At this point, Immortal Emperor Gochen thought of something and smiled. "Of course, I didn't expect that not only would you return safely, but you would also miraculously cultivate to the Wisdom Saint realm. Although you didn't want to reveal the secret to me, I am very happy that I have you, perfected Lord Qing Yuan, who is comparable to the Thunder Temple's Maitreya Buddha of the Thunder Temple." "Your Majesty's words are somewhat insincere." Sun Jian's strength had improved by leaps and bounds, so he didn't hesitate to speak frankly in front of Immortal Emperor Gochen. Hence, he spoke with a smile. Immortal Emperor Gochen smiled and was about to say something else when Sun Jian continued, "However, I still have to congratulate your Majesty." "Oh, where did the congratulations come from?" Immortal Emperor Gochen was stunned. Suddenly, a golden light rose around him, and the golden throne below him let out a loud rumble. The entire Lingyun Palace rapidly collapsed. Immortal Emperor Gochen seemed to have understood something. However, Sun Jian didn't continue speaking and only looked at Immortal Emperor Gochen with a smile on his face. "Sun Jian, you're saying that I know the human Confucian cultivators also have such a person?" Immortal Emperor Gochen seemed to have an epiphany and cried out involuntarily, "Yes. How could I be confused? If you want to cultivate to the Wisdom Saint realm, you must have someone to guide you. Moreover, your 3-pointed double-edged saber has been refined to such an extent. You must have an expert behind you." At this point, Immortal Emperor Gochen asked tentatively, "Who is your master? Can he come to the Immortal Palace?" Your Majesty, Sun Jian smiled and said, "I don't know if this expert will come or not. However, I know that your Majesty must invite him. He is more important to the Immortal Palace than the Maitreya Buddha of the world to the Thunder Temple." Yes, of course, I must invite him." Immortal Emperor Gochen frowned again, because he knew very well what the Maitreya Buddha of the world meant to the Thunder Temple. He didn't know who else could be so important to the Immortal Palace. Sun Jian was waiting for this moment. He smiled and asked, "Your Majesty, you must know the true scholar, right?" "Of course," Immortal Emperor Gochen said disapprovingly. Wasn't he created by Sun Yu and Xian? At this point, immortal Emperor Go Chen stood there in a daze. He was in disbelief and even stuttered. He no longer had the composure of an immortal emperor and asked, You mean what Jinru wanted to do? That master has already done it." Sun Jian didn't answer. He raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. Boom! 5-colored true qi gushed out and turned into 5-colored clouds above his head. Each cloud was like a lively flame. A kind of vitality seeped out from the clouds. It was far beyond the 5-colored true qi of ordinary Confucian cultivators. Immortal Emperor Go Chen couldn't sit still anymore. Wuxia flew up and landed on top of Sun Jian's head. His eyes flashed with a golden color. Golden eyes. Only the Sun family of the Immortal Palace could cultivate the clear eyes technique. Immortal Emperor Go Chen looked for a while and calmed down a little. He slowly flew back to his golden seat and stared at Sun Jian. Did Xian's Tian Xian fall into his hands? Princess Xian? Sun Jian was stunned and shook his head. I don't know. Chapter 4460. Only by understanding the heaven's heart can one cultivate the true 5 Qis unification. Immortal Emperor Go Chen says, if he didn't get Xian's half of the heaven's heart, how would you know the cultivation method of the 5 Qis unification? I don't know how that senior got the 5 Qis unification. Sun Jian answers. However, even if he got Princess Xian's half of the heaven's heart, he still has the other 4 half of the heaven's heart. There are only 4 half of the heaven's heart in this world. Immortal Emperor Go Chen says. The other half is in the heavenly court. Oh, so that's how it is. Then I'm ignorant. Sun Jian nods. Only the previous masters of the Immortal Palace know about this. It's normal that you don't know. Immortal Emperor Go Chen laughs. Seeing Immortal Emperor Go Chen laugh, Sun Jian understands and answers. I'll explain this to that senior. That's what you said. It has nothing to do with me. Immortal Emperor Go Chen's eyes flash with fervor and asks, what I'm concerned about is this 5 Qis unification. I've already asked that senior before returning to the Immortal Palace, Sun Jian says. Immortal Emperor Go Chen looks at Sun Jian's mouth and really wants to take the words out of his mouth. However, he already has a premonition in his heart. After all, Sun Jian has already displayed the 5 Qis unification in front of him. Sun Jian says word by word. That senior agreed for me to return the 5 Qis unification to the Confucian cultivator. After all, this 5 Qis unification was originally a lost cultivation method of the Confucian cultivator. Good. Immortal Emperor Go Chen claps his hands and laughs. With the 5 Qis unification, why would I fear the demon race? However, Sun Jian says, I feel that cultivation methods are dead, but people are alive. Although this senior doesn't care about fame and fortune, the ancients are still willing to spend 1,000 gold coins to buy horse bones. Your Majesty, why can't you invite this senior to my Immortal Palace? Of course. Immortal Emperor Go Chen makes up his mind and says, what's this senior's name and where is he now? I'll go down to the lower realm to search. This Sun Jian hesitates again. Actually, he wants to recommend Xiao Hua. However, he also understood that Xiao Hua believed that he was a Taoist cultivator, and that it was impossible for him to come to the Immortal Palace. At this time, he revealed the 5 Qis unification's cultivation method because he heard the news about the heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix and the Mithra Buddha. On the 3 mainlands, other than Xiao Hua and the Fortune Gate's disciples, no one knew more about the heaven-defying Lightning Phoenix and Mithra Buddha than him. Since Feng Wu and Sub Hoodie could go to the Great Holy Hall and Lightning Tune Temple, why couldn't Wen Chu come to the Immortal Palace? Therefore, Sun Wu hesitated for a moment before he smiled and said, this senior's name is Wen Chu. Naturally, he was already a literary star. As for where he went, I don't know. However, Your Majesty should know that the day this senior appears will be the day I reveal myself. I hope to stall for as long as possible. Wen Chu? Good name. Immortal Emperor Go Chen clapped his hands and laughed. My Immortal Palace's Wen Chu Palace does not have a master yet. What do you think if I invite him to be the master of the Wen Chu Palace? Sun Wu smiled and said, Your Majesty is right. Although the Wen Chu Palace is not comparable to the Pure Jade Palace, High Purity Palace, and Grand Purity Palace, The name of the Wuxia Palace is too special. Even the masters of the 3 pure palaces do not dare to call themselves Wuxia. This senior can pass down our orthodox 5 cheese unifications cultivation method. He is indeed worthy of being the master of the Wuxia Palace. Not only that, Immortal Emperor Go-chun said excitedly, since Wuxia can disclose the 5 cheese unifications cultivation method to the Immortal Palace, he is qualified to be the master of our Confucian cultivators. I want to give him the title of Immortal Master and announce it to the entire hidden immortal continent. Your Majesty is wise. Sun Jian prostrated himself in admiration. In just a short moment, Immortal Emperor Go-chun had tied Wuxia to the chariot of Immortal Palace. Wuxia's title as an Immortal Master wouldn't be any weaker than the Maitreya Buddha of the Thunderclap Temple and the heaven-defying Lightning Phoenix of the Great Sacred Hall. The entire hidden immortal continent would be shaken. Motherfucker, at this time, Sun Jian was shocked again. Daoist Xiao is now the Dragon Master of the Dragon Clan. Wuxia is now the Immortal Master of our Confucian cultivators. Bodhi has become the Buddha Maitreya Buddha, and Feng Wu has become the first great saint of the Demon Clan. This Fortune Gate is now the place where all things flow into one place. The Fortune Gate and the Fortune Dao Palace are truly places of fortune. With the title of Immortal Master, the 5 cheese unifications cultivation method, and the help of the Scholar Palace's master. Immortal Emperor Go-chun raised his head and looked into the distance. He said meaningfully, not to mention the 4 great clans, even the 100 schools of thought, will have to listen to the orders of my school of the military. Sun Jian, you are truly my lucky general. Sweat. Seeing Immortal Emperor Go-chun's plan, Sun Jian's face was covered in sweat. Although he was a famous commander and was unparalleled in judging the situation on the battlefield, when it came to power struggles, how could he see as far as Immortal Emperor Go-chun? He only wanted to gain some benefits for Xiaohua, but he didn't expect Immortal Emperor Go-chun to want even more. As the saying goes, there is no such thing as a free lunch in the sky. Whether it was Immortal Master or the Scholar Palace's master, they were not for nothing. At this moment, Sun Jian was almost regretting his decision. He was afraid that Xiaohua and Wuxia wouldn't agree. However, before he could say anything, Immortal Emperor Go-chun suddenly stopped and slapped the golden throne. A palm-sized golden leaf flew out. Immortal Emperor Go-chun looked at it and said angrily, "Your hair is long but your knowledge is short. How can you do this at a time like this?" With that, Immortal Emperor Go-chun crushed the golden leaf and said, "Sun Jian, I will tell Tai Bai Jinxing to write a decree. Do you want to announce it to the world first? Or do you want to wait until you find that senior?" "I feel that it is better to inform that senior first," Sun Jian hastily replied. Unfortunately, Sun Jian still underestimated Immortal Emperor Go-chun's arbitrariness. He simply asked Sun Jian, and didn't expect Sun Jian to answer. Even if Sun Jian answered, would be in vain. Immortal Emperor Go-chun shook his head and said, "I feel that it is better to announce it to the world first. What do you think?" Why? Sun Jian knew it was inappropriate, but he still asked. "First, our Confucian cultivators are at a disadvantage right now. The demon race and the Buddhist sect both have leaders. If we don't have an immortal master, our morale will be low and we will be at a disadvantage. Second, the sutra-seeking extreme bliss is a compromise between the Immortal Palace and the Buddhist sect. The 4 great clans are already pressuring me. If the 4 great clans take this opportunity to show off, I will be unable to make ends meet. It is better to use this to attract the attention of the 4 great clans. Third, if you ask and Wuxia doesn't come, won't I be happy for nothing? But what if your Majesty issues the decree and Wuxia still doesn't come?" Sun Jian was worried. "What is done cannot be undone." Immortal Emperor Go-chun smiled and said, "The 5 energies origin method. Can't you teach it? I only need this gimmick. Whether Wuxia enters the literary palace or not, it doesn't matter." Immortal Emperor Go-chun's golden chair shook again, and another golden leaf flew out. Immortal Emperor Go-chun reached out and caught it. He casually looked at it and crushed it. Then he looked at Sun Jian and said, "Just now, the Divination Hall sent a message. In their surveillance, not only did they discover the stars in the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm, But they also found a huge amount of heaven and earth origin energy flowing in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. The divination hall deduced that there are hundreds of thousands of high-level cultivators channeling their magic power there. Sun Jian, I remember that the Grand Mist ancestor didn't have that many disciples under him. Immortal Emperor Go Chen's words seemed casual, and he only mentioned the Grand Mist ancestor. However, Sun Jian knew that Immortal Emperor Go Chen had an ulterior motive. He was probing Xiaohua's strength. Sun Jian was a bit conflicted. He had already told Immortal Emperor Go Chen about Xiaohua's goodwill. However, it was obvious that Immortal Emperor Go Chen didn't care too much about Xiaohua's goodwill. After all, on the hidden immortal continent, the Dao Gate was weak. Even someone as strong as the Grand Mist ancestor wasn't in Immortal Emperor Go Chen's eyes. Although Xiaohua's rise was like the rising sun, Immortal Emperor Go Chen didn't take him seriously. Sun Jian was also prepared to slowly reveal Xiaohua's power and fulfill his promise with Xiaohua. However, Xiaohua suddenly caused such a big commotion in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Although Sun Jian didn't know what Xiaohua did, how could the appearance of hundreds of thousands of high-level Dao Gate disciples be a small matter? Although the Sky Secret Hall might not know about this matter now, they would know sooner or later. Instead of being passive at that time, it was better to tell Immortal Emperor Go Chen now. Thus, Sun Jian thought for a while and said, Your Majesty, regarding the appearance of hundreds of thousands of high-level Dao Gate disciples in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, it shouldn't be the Grand Mist ancestors doing. If I'm not mistaken, I think it has something to do with Xiaohua. Immortal Emperor Go Chen was obviously stunned. He looked at Sun Jian in disbelief. However, his expression returned to normal in an instant. After pondering for a while, he asked, In other words, while Xiaohua was cultivating, he was also nurturing many Dao Gate disciples? Sun Jian didn't answer Immortal Emperor Go Chen's question. Instead, he cleverly changed the topic. Your Majesty, I have already told you about Xiaohua's intentions. According to my understanding, Xiaohua isn't an ambitious person. To put it bluntly, he is perhaps a village farmer who is content with a small fortune. However, his luck was extremely good and his strength reached his current level. The situation of the 3 continents forced him to come to the front. In fact, he only wanted to cultivate peacefully and didn't want to be distracted by other things. In addition, I have also come into contact with those disciples of his, and I even have a life and death friendship with them. As for the outer disciples, I can't say. Those disciples that he taught himself don't have any special ambitions. Therefore, I think that Your Majesty should be on good terms with Xiaohua. Unfortunately, before he finished speaking, Immortal Emperor Go Chen laughed again. Not only do I want to be on good terms with Xiaohua, I also want to use Xiaohua to restrain the Grand Mist ancestor. Chapter 4461. After hearing this, Sun Jian's sweat dripped down his back again. He knew Xiaohua's temper. Xiaohua was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. He hated being used by others the most. If Xiaohua knew about Immortal Emperor Gao Chen's plan, who knew what kind of loopholes he would make? Sun Jian hurriedly said, Your Majesty. While they were talking, the Emperor's golden throne violently shook again. Another piece of gold flew out. The Emperor became impatient and picked it up to take a look. A rare trace of awkwardness appeared on his face. He looked at Sun Jian and asked, Why is your auntie looking for you again? Didn't you go to the Hall of Fragrance earlier? Well, Sun Jian was also stunned. He nodded and said, I just returned to the Immortal Palace and went to see you in the Hall of Fragrance. Forget it, you should go. The Emperor helplessly said, I have already scolded her twice. If I refute her again, she will be angry. Yes, I understand. Sun Jian didn't dare to say anything else and bowed. I will go right away. However, just as he said that, Sun Jian seemed to have thought of something and said, Oh right, if it's possible, Your Majesty, send a decree to the Hall of Enlightenment not to provoke the hundreds of thousands of Dao sect cultivators, or let me take charge of this matter. Your Majesty only needs to invite Senior Wuxia into the Wuxia Palace, and everything will be fine. Your Majesty and I will only need to find the thief who covets Your Majesty's throne. Okay, I understand. Go to the Hall of Fragrance. The Emperor was clearly absent-minded and said, Be careful, don't let your whereabouts be exposed. Sun Jian wryly smiled. Your Majesty, I am now the Sun Palace's Grand General. A trip to the Hall of Fragrance won't cause any suspicion, right? All in all, just be careful. Immortal Emperor Go Chun waved his sleeve and signaled for Sun Jian to leave. Not to mention Sun Jian, the Nangong young noble, Nangong Jingyin, asked Immortal Emperor Go Chun for permission to visit the Eastern Sea Emperor at the Lingyun Palace. After coming out of the palace, he went straight to the west of the palace. He flew past many pavilions and clouds before finally arriving at the foot of a mountain. The Immortal Palace had always been dominated by palaces. Even with Nangong Jingyin's experience, she couldn't help but stop in the air. After a while, she broke out from the intoxication of the mountain scenery and smiled. Since ancient times, I only felt that the 4 seasons were new, but I didn't know that the autumn moon was near. Only when the mortal world is heavy would I feel that the scenery of the mountain ridges is new. The moment she finished reciting, a yellow scarf warrior suddenly came out from the foot of the mountain. This yellow scarf strongman was at least 1,000 feet tall. His body surged with an awe-inspiring aura, emitting a reddish-yellow luster. Who are you? How dare you trespass into the Hall of Fragrance? The yellow scarf warrior shouted. If you have no intention of offending, then turn around and I'll pretend that I didn't see anything. Nangong Jingyin naturally wasn't afraid. She stood firmly in the air and bowed. This one is the young noble of the Nangong family, Nangong Jingyin. This one has already paid respects to the Immortal Emperor, and received his order to come and pay respects to the Eastern Abyss Empress. The yellow scarf warrior was stunned and raised his hand. Do you have the Immortal Emperor's decree? The Immortal Emperor is discussing important matters in the palace, and doesn't have the time to care about this one. Nangong Jingyin calmly replied. Thus this one doesn't have the Immortal Emperor's decree, only the Nangong family's token. Where is the token? The yellow scarf warrior roared with a respectful tone. Please examine it. Nangong Jingyin took out her token and handed it to the warrior. The yellow scarf warrior took the token and looked at it before saying, Please wait a moment. Then, the yellow scarf warrior flew into the mountain and disappeared. Not long later, a woman in palace attire flew out with Nangong Jingyin's token. When she got close, she handed the token back and bowed with a smile. Young Master Nangong, the Empress invites you in. Many thanks, sister. Please lead the way. Nangong Jingyin took the token and carefully held it in his hand before returning the greeting. That woman covered her mouth and smiled. Young Master Nangong, please. Nangong Jingyin looked at the woman's swaying waist and her graceful figure, as she controlled the clouds with a trace of a smile on his face. Then he lowered his head and followed behind. After flying over the mountain, 5 colored clouds covered the entire mountain range. Moreover, in the air, strands of elegant fragrance entered his nose. Nangong Jingyin lightly breathed in, and when that fragrance entered his body, a refreshing feeling appeared in his mind. Not only did his limbs and bones feel comfortable, even the qi in his middle dantian sped up. Sister, Nangong Jingyin said. The fragrance-spreading palace is indeed the most beautiful place in the Immortal Palace. Every time I go there, I feel a little younger. Sister is serving the Empress in the fragrance-spreading palace. Not to mention 1,000 years, even 10,000 years later, you will still be as young as you are now. Hee, no wonder the Empress is biased. Young Master Nangong's mouth is really sweet. Hearing this, the woman was elated. Her face blushed and she smiled. Celestial Empress was about to head to the back of the mountain to pick the wood heart grass. When she heard that young Master Nangong was coming, she ordered people to postpone the matter, and hurriedly sent this servant to invite you. If it was someone else, the Empress would definitely not meet them. This is all my fault. Nangong Jingyin smiled and said. The sisters are all prepared, but they were delayed because of me. I have to apologize. As she spoke, Nangong Jingyin took out a jade box and handed it over to that woman. Sister, this is a heart-cleansing pill made by my Nangong family. It isn't anything precious, but it has some unique benefits for skin maintenance. Normally, the women of my Nangong family would use this to maintain their beauty. Sister, please give this to the other sisters and ask them to forgive me. Is that so? This is the Nangong family's heart-cleansing pill? That woman's figure stopped as shock appeared in her eyes. This servant has long heard of this heart-cleansing pill. Although the name sounds ordinary, it is extremely useful for women like us. Nangong Jingyin smiled and stuffed the jade box into the woman's hands. She waved her hand and said, "Rumors are inevitably exaggerated. This heart-cleansing pill is just an ordinary pill made by my Nangong family. Sister, you don't have to mind it." Hee, if that's the case, then this servant will bring the other sisters to thank young master. The woman giggled and carefully put it away. How could she not know how precious this heart-cleansing pill was? "By the way, sister, how is the Empress' mood these few days?" Nangong Jingyin asked casually. The woman naturally understood this logic. She didn't try to hide it and said with a smile, "Celestial Empress has been in a good mood these few days, much better than before. Otherwise, she wouldn't think of going to the back mountain." "Many thanks, big sister." Nangong Jingyin understood and didn't ask any more questions, only replying with a smile. Afterward, the woman brought Nangong Jingyin and flew forward again. In just a short moment, they entered the 5-colored clouds. Within the clouds, there was a palace on the foot of the mountain. This palace's style was simple and unadorned. An auspicious aura surged into the sky. Immortal birds were leisurely circling around the palace, and immortal beasts were leisurely pacing around the palace. The palace was extremely large, and seemed to cover the entire foot of the mountain. However, there were layers of clouds above the palace, and the majority of it couldn't be seen with the naked eye. There was a door in the palace, and there was a group of female generals in front of it. These female generals wore armor and held imperial artifacts. They all looked valiant and formidable. When the female generals saw someone flying over, they immediately went on guard. The 2 female generals in front even used eye-clearing techniques to examine Nangong Jingyin. Nangong Jingyin had a smile on her face as she nodded at the 2 female generals. She didn't stop and followed the woman who led the way to the palace. The 2 didn't land, and the group of female generals had already formed a formation and faintly surrounded the 2 of them. When that woman landed, she smiled at the female general in front and said, "General Rainbow Phoenix, this is the young master of the Nangong family, Nangong Jingyin. She is here to greet the Empress." "And go in." General Rainbow Phoenix glanced at Nangong Jingyin and nodded. She waved her hand, and the group of female generals behind her moved aside. However, they still remained vigilant not far away. Behind the female general was the palace door. This door was also grand, and there were 3 flamboyant inscriptions on it. Fragrance-spreading palace. The doors of the Hall of Fragrance were divided into 9 sections, but they were not completely open. Only the door on the far right was half closed, neither too big nor too small. The woman walked to the door and said respectfully, "Young Master Nangong, please." "Okay." Nangong Jingyi nodded and walked in. The woman hurriedly turned around and walked towards a side door. Nangong Jingyin stepped into the fragrance-spreading palace and was greeted by thousands of flowers. Some were big, some were small, some were blooming, and some were budding. They filled the entire fragrance-spreading palace. Other than the dense fragrance in her nose, there was only a myriad of colors. There wasn't a single path, nor was there a palace. Nangong Jingyin looked around and couldn't help but feel dizzy. The moment Nangong Jingyin closed her eyes, that woman flew out from a flower beside her and said respectfully, "Young Master Nangong, please follow this servant sister, please." Nangong Jingyin opened her eyes. Her eyes were clear now. The woman didn't move. Instead, she stepped into a faint yellow flower bud. The instant she stepped in, the flower bud suddenly expanded to more than 30 meters in size. Nangong Jingyin didn't dare to delay, and quickly followed. Swoosh! A faint yellow light mixed with clouds covered the entire flower bud. Nangong Jingyin felt the entire world shake. His body seemed to have moved a little, but it didn't seem to have moved at all. The flower bud returned to its original state. Chapter 4462. Shortly after, the woman brought Nangong Jingyin to 8 similar colored flower buds. After the last flower bud turned, the entire flower bud flew out from the flowers and brought Nangong Jingyin and the woman into the flower bushes. The bushes were torn apart like clouds, and Nangong Jingyin's eyes lit up. She was already on the stairs of a palace. Empress, the woman landed on the stairs and immediately bowed. Nangong family's young master Nangong Jingyin requests an audience. Announce a clear voice sounded from within the palace, and a grassy lawn appeared from the clouds and extended to Nangong Jingyin's feet. Servant Nangong Jingyin greets Empress. Nangong Jingyin stepped onto the lawn and bowed. As she spoke, the lawn returned to the palace, and the clouds dissipated. Nangong Jingyin's eyes blurred, and she was standing in a palace filled with flowers. There was also a golden chair at the top of this palace, and a woman who was 3,000 meters tall sat on it. She had a dignified appearance and had a kind smile on her face. There were countless auspicious signs on her palace dress. On the left side of the golden throne, countless inscriptions formed the shape of a phoenix. They danced proudly, and wisps of luck that were as thin as strands of cloud surged out of the void as the phoenix flapped its wings. They either entered the woman's palace dress or the golden throne, and faint rumbling sounds could be heard. This woman was none other than the East Sea Empress, the mother of the world. Seeing Nangong Jingyin bow, the East Ocean Empress raised her hand. Servant Nangong, you may rise. Thank you, Empress. Nangong Jingyin still didn't dare to raise her head. She only looked at the auspicious clouds below her. The East Ocean Empress was very satisfied with Nangong Jingyin's respectful attitude and asked, I heard that the calamities on the hidden immortal continent are endless. Not only are the commoners homeless, but many scholarly families are also declining. I wonder how the situation is now. Nangong Jingyin replied, Empress, you care for the world, and I truly admire you. 10 days ago, this humble subject received a message from the clan, and mentioned the recent disaster. Please be at ease, Celestial Empress. This humble subject does not know about other places, but within the capabilities of my Nangong aristocratic family, not a single person of the secular world has left their home, much less become homeless. Not only did my Nangong family use all of our resources to help the people who were affected by the disaster, we even traveled thousands of miles to purchase good seeds that could resist the disaster. We distributed them to the people of the world for free, so that they could fill their stomachs and cultivate them. AI, if all the clans were like the Nangong clan, then why would the immortal emperor have to work so hard every day? The East Sea Empress sighed. It's really been hard on the Nangong clan. I don't dare. This is what I should do as a subject. Nangong Jingyin replied neither haughtily nor humbly. Crown Prince, what brings you to my hall of fragrance today? The East Sea Empress smiled and said, Your Nangong family has done a lot for the hidden immortal continent. If I can participate in politics, I will definitely ask the immortal emperor to reward your Nangong family. Nangong Jingyin smiled and said, This humble subject has not come to the Hall of Fragrance for a long time, and I miss Celestial Empress very much. Furthermore, this humble subject's mother has also sent a message, and she specially instructed this humble subject to come over. She said that she has something to tell Celestial Empress. Oh, what matter does Xing have to be so mysterious? The East Sea Empress smiled and said, This humble subject has known your mother since young. After this humble subject married into the Sun family, she married into the Nangong family. However, every year during this humble subject's birthday banquet, she would send her regards over. How long has it been? If there is something, why didn't she say it that day? This Nangong Jingyin said embarrassedly. Mother said clearly in the message that this humble subject is not allowed to take a look, so this humble subject does not know. Take it out. The East Sea Empress smiled and said, Yes. Nangong Jingyin nodded and carefully took out a palm-sized pink jade pendant and respectfully presented it. At this moment, a female official walked out from the nearby clouds. This female official took the jade pendant and looked at it. She then opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of qi, which entered the jade pendant. Rumble with a soft sound, 4-colored qi surged out from the jade pendant and transformed into a several qi-long subbody. This subbody was an absolute beauty, and she was also wearing palace attire. She looked around and bowed towards the East Sea Empress. This subject, Sun Yaoxing, greets Celestial Empress. This subject has come to greet Celestial Empress as a Yuan spirit child. This subject seeks Celestial Empress understanding. It's fine. The East Sea Empress waved her hand and smiled. This is the fragrance-spreading palace. Other than your family's boy, there are no other subjects here. There is no need to be so courteous. Furthermore, This humble subject also knows that if you were to make a trip to the Immortal Palace, you would have to submit a letter of approval first. Your Nangong family also has to go through many formalities, and this humble subject is truly inconvenient. For you to come and see this humble subject as a Yuan spirit child, this humble subject is already very happy. Thank you, Celestial Empress. Nangong Jingyin's mother did not lose her respect because of the Celestial Empress's words. She still carefully replied, "How is Celestial Empress recently?" "Sigh, not really," the EC Empress sighed. "I believe you also know that this humble subject does not feel good in my heart." "Hee, that's right." Nangong Jingyin's mother smiled and said, "Which mother would be unhappy if this matter happened to her? If Yin was imprisoned in the Heaven Punishment Prison Crystal, this subject will also think of a way to save him." "You will think of a way. But this humble subject cannot." The EC Empress shook her head and said, "This humble subject is the mother of the world and must be a role model. This matter cannot make things difficult for the Immortal Emperor." Speaking of this, the EC Empress was a little bewildered. She looked at the slightly dimmed subbody of Nangong Jingyin's mother and asked, "Xing'er, do you have any important matters? If this humble subject is able to do it, this humble subject will definitely help." Big sister Nangong Jingyin's mother revealed a mysterious expression again. She even changed the way she addressed the EC Empress. She said softly, "This little sister didn't leave much Yuan spirit in the jade pendant. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on for long. Then, this little sister will make a long story short." "And go ahead." The EC Empress nodded. "Actually, this little sister didn't come today for my own matters," Nangong Jingyin's mother said. "This little sister heard about the 9th princess matter, and knows that you are feeling terrible, so this little sister wants to help you." "Oh, what does little sister mean?" The EC Empress was dazed and was even more confused. "Big sister, what do you think of Yin?" Nangong Jingyin's mother changed the topic and asked. The EC Empress glanced at the respectful Nangong Jingyin and replied, "Yin is a good child. Didn't the Immortal Emperor give him his courtesy name when he was 20 years old? Furthermore, during these years in the Immortal Palace, he has followed the rules and is the most outstanding among the princes of the 4 great families. Little sister, you are really lucky." "Big sister, if our Nangong family and the Sun family are connected by marriage," Nangong Jingyin's mother smiled and said, "Do you think the Immortal Emperor will spare the 9th princess? Will he let her out to marry Yin?" "Oh." The EC Empress was shocked. Her eyes flashed with a complicated expression as her gaze landed on Nangong Jingyin. At this moment, Nangong Jingyin was also shocked and had a trace of shyness on her face. She didn't know where to put her hands and feet. After a while, the EC Empress asked, "Little sister, is this your idea or Nangong's?" "Big sister is thinking too much." Nangong Jingyin's mother smiled and said, "Nangong doesn't know about this at all. I didn't even tell Yin. I just want to hear your opinion. If you think it's suitable, I will discuss it with Nangong." "Yin doesn't have anything to be picky about," the EC Empress said softly. "The Nangong family is also one of the 4 great families. If Nangong comes to propose marriage, the Immortal Emperor will definitely give face." Of course. At this point, the EC Empress didn't say anything else. In fact, she also understood that the 4 great families wanted to make the Immortal Emperor a mere figurehead. The Immortal Emperor had always wanted to find a breakthrough point between the 4 great families and the Immortal Palace. However, the 4 great families were like one, and the Immortal Emperor had no chance at all. At this moment, Nangong Jingyin's mother proposed marriage. It sounded like her own idea, but the EC Empress didn't believe that Nangong Jingyin's mother didn't discuss it with the Nangong family's family head, Nangong Tianjiao. As for the Nangong family's intention, the EC Empress could faintly guess. From the family head's name, Nangong Tianjiao, one could see that Nangong Tianjiao was a prideful person. At this moment, the Nangong family was not only suppressed by the Dongfang and Shimen families, but even the Dark North family, which had always been ranked last, had the strength to compete with the Nangong family. Therefore, if the Nangong family wanted to become the head of the 4 great families, Nangong Tianjiao had to find an external power. The Immortal Palace's military school was his best choice. Of course, When the Nangong family proposed marriage, it was unavoidable that they would hit the East Sea Empress when they were down. However, this was also a sore point for the East Sea Empress, so she had to consider it. On the day of the East Sea Empress birthday banquet, the Immortal Emperor invited the Thunder Temple's Vairocana world sovereign, and the Great Sage Hall's golden-winged Great Pung Great Sage, to discuss the sutra-seeking extreme bliss. He also invited them to watch the Immortal Palace's Heaven's Choice Gathering. The so-called Heaven's Choice Gathering was the battle to choose the Heaven's Heart, because in the previous Heaven's Choice Gathering, the 9th Princess Xin won, and the Immortal Palace's half-Heaven's Heart was given to her to comprehend. However, in order to save Xiaohua at the bottom of the Saint River, Princess Xin took out half of the Heaven's Heart. That half of the Heaven's Heart fell into Xiaohua's dantian, and couldn't be taken out again. Therefore, in the Heaven's Choice Gathering, Princess Xin couldn't take out the only half of the Heaven's Heart. This caused the Immortal Emperor to lose all his face, and he was furious. Ignoring the East Sea Queen's pleas, he ordered the 3 provinces to bring the new princess to the hidden immortal continent and punish her severely. He also sent more people to find Tian Xian's whereabouts. Chapter 4463. Princess Xian was the youngest daughter of the East Ocean Empress. She had been suppressed in the hidden immortal continent for more than 200 years. How could she not be worried? Seeing that the Nangong family's suggestion had the possibility of saving Princess Xian, she was naturally tempted. She believed that the Immortal Emperor would make some concessions in order to rope in the Nangong family. 200 years was a severe punishment for Princess Xian. Thus the East Ocean Empress nodded. Sister, I feel that this matter can be done, but I don't know if Iner is willing. Empress Nangong Jingyin was a little embarrassed. This subject doesn't have any objections. Not to mention, I'm willing to sacrifice myself for the 9th princess. Just the 9th princess's peerless beauty is the ideal partner for me. I'm just afraid I'm not worthy of the 9th princess. As long as you're willing, the East Ocean Empress nodded. We don't know where Xian is being suppressed. How can we discuss with her if we want to save her? Besides, some things can only be done in this way because of parents' orders and matchmakers' words. Since Big Sister agrees, then Nangong Jingyin's mother's body suddenly dimmed, and her voice couldn't be heard anymore. She disappeared before she finished speaking. That jade pendant naturally fell into the hands of the female official. However, the female official's face was as pale as paper. She looked at the jade pendant in a daze before carefully handing it back to Nangong Jingyin. Iner, the East Ocean Empress, changed the way she addressed Nangong Jingyin. Send a message according to what your mother said. Yes, this subject understands. Nangong Jingyin hurriedly bowed. This subject will send a message to the clan. I believe that it won't be long before the Empress will be able to see the 9th princess. Very good. The East Ocean Empress smiled. Your mother is so considerate. I'll remember it. I'll take my leave now. I will send a message to you. Nangong Jingyin bowed, and when she turned around, she couldn't help but smile. When Nangong Jingyin walked out of the fragrance-spreading palace, a woman from before came forward to send him out. The moment he disappeared, the female official couldn't help but kneel on the ground and cry out, Empress, please don't betroth the 9th princess to the Nangong family. Otherwise, even if the 9th princess was rescued, she wouldn't be happy. Perhaps she would rather be suppressed in the lower realms. Oh, haha. The East Ocean Empress was stunned. Then, as if she had thought of something, she said angrily, Damned servant, are you hiding something from me? This female official was naturally the female official of the new princess palace, haha. The new princess was suppressed in the lower realms by the 3 provinces of Leitang, so the Emperor Star Palace was temporarily sealed. And the other female officials were either guarding the Emperor Star Palace, or sent to other palaces. Happened to be sent to the fragrance-spreading palace. Today, when she saw that the East Ocean Empress had the intention of betrothing the new princess to Nangong Jingyin, she immediately thought of Xiaohua. She naturally knew that the new princess was in love with Xiaohua. Hearing the East Ocean Empress's scolding, Ha's mind spun rapidly. But at this moment, she didn't dare to hide it anymore. She was afraid that the new princess would be depressed for the rest of her life. Thus, carefully probed. Empress, do you still remember how the princess begged you to give her half a day before she was suppressed? I remember, the East Ocean Empress said impatiently. I thought she wanted to deal with Zhenru's matter, so I begged the Immortal Emperor. The Immortal Emperor only gave her half a day. Damn it, could it be that she... Yes, the princess went to the lower realm to bid farewell to that person. Didn't dare to say Xiaohua's name and said submissively. Damn it, she's actually from the lower realm. The East Ocean Empress was furious. Which family is this person from? Why didn't I know anything about this? He's not a Confucian cultivator. Was about to cry. She knew better than anyone that as the 9th princess of the Immortal Palace, how could Xinxin marry a Taoist cultivator? Not a Confucian cultivator? Could it be a monk? Could it be a demon? The East Ocean Empress was even more surprised. Didn't the little monk that Xinxin befriended in the past attain Nanwu wisdom Manjushri Buddha fruit? No, it's not monk Xiai Hui, it's a Taoist cultivator. Squeezed out another sentence. Damn it. This is another trick of that Grand Mist ancestor, right? The East Ocean Empress immediately thought of the Grand Mist ancestor. Quickly said. This servant doesn't know, but it shouldn't be. Hurry up and tell me. The East Sea Empress panicked. Her body glowed brightly, and the golden throne shone as brightly as the sun. She had wanted to save her daughter, but she had not expected her daughter to betray the Tao to such an extent. She had actually gotten involved with a Taoist cultivator. Had no intention of resisting the East Ocean Empress's power. She told her everything she knew in detail. In the end, she didn't forget to say, this servant pleads with the Empress that the princess and that person are connected by heart. Although she hasn't told that person, but this servant can see that she's always thinking about that person. She's often in a daze with a smile in her eyes. If the Empress marries the princess to the Nangong family, I'm afraid the princess will never be happy. If that's the case, it's better to let her be suppressed in the lower realm. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The East Ocean Empress was furious. Why didn't you say so earlier? Empress, this servant didn't have the princess's permission. How would I dare to say it? Argued. Moreover, that person is a Taoist cultivator. If the Empress finds out, won't she beat this servant to death? Aren't you afraid that I'll beat you to death now? The East Ocean Empress sneered. This servant is afraid, but this servant is more afraid that the princess will be sad for the rest of her life. Replied hurriedly. Even if this servant is beaten to death by the Empress, I don't want the Empress to hurt the princess's life because of your love for her. Previously you were suppressed because of Gusichioti's relationship with a Taoist cultivator. Now you're really a troublemaker. The East Ocean Empress was so angry that she trembled and almost cursed. This servant doesn't dare. Felt wronged. This servant doesn't know how the princess met that person. That person? Who is that person? The East Ocean Empress snapped out of her anger and scolded. Tell me. Bit her lips and said softly. His name is Xiaohua. Xiaohua. The East Ocean Empress was stunned. She thought for a while and said, this name is familiar. It doesn't seem like he's a subordinate of the Grand Mist ancestor? The Empress knows Xiaohua's name? Was shocked. I think I've heard it somewhere before. The East Ocean Empress thought and asked, where is this Xiaohua in the hidden immortal continent? What's his cultivation? How does he know? At this point the East Ocean Empress stopped. How could know so much about the new princess? This servant doesn't know where Xiaohua is in the hidden immortal continent. This servant only knows that he should be at the 5th grade Essence Force 200 years ago. Now he should be at the 6th grade Essence Force. Naturally had to flatter Xiaohua. She did her best to increase Xiaohua's cultivation. He is merely a 5th grade origin power. How could he possibly reach 6th grade origin power in 200 years? The East Sea Empress scoffed. However, as she spoke, she suddenly exclaimed in shock. I remember now. As she spoke, the East Ocean Empress thought for a while and muttered. He should still be in the Lingyan Palace at this time. As she spoke, the East Ocean Empress raised her hand and patted the golden seat. A piece of gold leaf flew out from the golden seat. The East Ocean Empress said a few words and pointed. The gold leaf fell into the golden seat and disappeared. What does Xiaohua look like? The East Ocean Empress asked. Ha hesitated for a while and waved her hand. A tricolored cloud flew out and condensed into Xiaohua's image in the air. He's just an ordinary cultivator. The East Ocean Empress looked and waved her hand, shattering Xiaohua's image. She said, do you know what Xian said to Xiaohua in the lower realm? This servant doesn't know. Ha smiled and said. The princess only brought this servant along as a companion. What else do you know? The East Ocean Empress was a little angry. Ha said. This servant also knows that Xiaohua is a rare merciful person. His cultivation is also very profound. In the future, his name will shake the world. There's no need to wait. The East Ocean Empress couldn't help but snort again. If I'm not wrong, his name will soon shake the world. Ha was stunned. She looked at the East Ocean Empress in confusion. Why isn't he here yet? The East Ocean Empress was a little anxious. She patted the golden seat again and sent out another piece of gold leaf. This time, the East Ocean Empress didn't ask anything. She sat on the golden seat and thought quietly. It seemed like she was planning something. After waiting for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, there was still no movement. The East Ocean Empress sent out another piece of gold leaf. Fortunately, another piece of gold leaf flew over. The East Ocean Empress looked at it and ordered. In a while, the new Sun Palace Great General Sun Cho, who is in charge of the Immortal Palace's defense, will come to visit me. Go and bring him here. Yes, Empress. Someone outside the palace answered and left. The East Ocean Empress looked at and said, you can leave first. Yes, didn't dare to say more and obediently left. Not long after, Sun Jian entered the Hall of Fragrance. He looked at the East Ocean Empress in confusion and bowed. The new Sun Palace Great General Sun Cho greets the East Ocean Empress. My beloved subject, you may rise. The East Ocean Empress pretended to wave her hand, indicating for Sun Jian to rise. She said, my beloved subject, what brings you here? Chapter 4464. Sun Jian said respectfully, I am the newly appointed Great General of the Sun Palace, responsible for the safety of the Immortal Palace. However, I do not know much about the Immortal Palace, so I am here to ask for your guidance. Oh, the Immortal Emperor has entrusted the heavy responsibility of the Immortal Palace's defense to you. Looks like he has high hopes for you. The East Sea Empress nodded slightly and replied, if we're talking about the defenses of the Immortal Palace, then that should be the greatest secret of the Immortal Palace at this point. The East Sea Empress raised her hand and patted the golden chair beneath her. Several phoenix cries rang out, and dozens of phoenix-shaped inscriptions flew out, covering the entire Hall of Fragrance. When the clouds surged out, the East Sea Empress figure slowly shrank until she turned into an ordinary woman with a kind face. Although the East Sea Empress had a smile on her face, and her eyes were filled with concern and anxiety, the elegance she exuded was still unbearable. Aunt, why did you call the boy over? Sun Jian smiled and said, you sent 3 messages in a row, which made Uncle very unhappy. It's up to him whether he's happy or not. The East Sea Empress snorted coldly. Only he is allowed to uphold the dignity and face of the Immortal Emperor, but not the feelings of husband and wife. Can't I be a little angry? Sun Jian naturally knew what the East Sea Empress was angry about. He could only comfort her. Aunt, if it's just about the 9th princess, Uncle did not do anything wrong. After all, he is the Immortal Emperor, and there are 8 other princesses above the 9th princess. Not only does he have to face the Thunder Temple and Great Sage Hall, he also has to answer to the other 8 princesses. If he doesn't punish the 9th princess, how can he lead the Confucian cultivators? Even if he wants to punish her, he doesn't have to be so cruel. The East Sea Empress knew that Sun Jian's words were reasonable. She sighed and said, poor Exine. She has been suppressed in the lower realm for more than 200 years. I wonder how she is doing in the Heaven Punishment Prison Crystal? Aunt, don't worry. Sun Jian was still comforting her. The 9th princess controls the Thunder and Thunder provinces. Even if she is imprisoned, the law enforcers will not dare to make things too difficult for her. As long as there is a chance in the future, Uncle will definitely find a chance for the 9th princess to atone for her crimes. He, the East Sea Empress, sneered. He only cares about his throne. Ever since the Heaven's Choice Assembly, he hasn't come to the Hall of Fragrance. Oh right, Jean, you have to keep an eye on the immortal emperor for me. I heard that he's been going to the Flower Medicine Palace recently. If there's any movement, you have to inform me as soon as possible. Flower Medicine Palace. Sun Tian was slightly taken aback as he asked curiously. Isn't that Fairy Yu? At this point, Sun Jian smiled bitterly. He knew he couldn't continue. Sure enough, the East Sea Empress' face turned cold when she heard Fairy Yu. She said coldly, "That's right, it's Fairy Yu. What do you think the Flower Medicine Palace has to do with? Was it worth him going there again and again? Does he think that I won't be able to find him just because he's invisible?" Ahem. Sun Tian coughed lightly and said, "Auntie Boy understands. Boy will definitely patrol the Flower Medicine Palace diligently in the future, and give Uncle some warnings." That's good. The East Sea Empress nodded and said, "Auntie didn't raise you in vain. In this immortal palace, you're the only person I care about the most. Auntie, if there's nothing else, Boy will take his leave first." Sun Jian smiled and said, "Boy's enemies haven't discovered the boy's true identity. Boy has to quickly find out who harmed Boy." "Oh, don't be anxious," the East Sea Empress hurriedly said. "Auntie called you over to ask you something." "Auntie, please speak." Sun Jian was a little confused. He thought that the East Sea Empress had called him over to keep an eye on the immortal emperor. "Auntie, do you remember that when you just came back, you said that you fell into the Heavens prison with a Tao sect cultivator called Xiaohua?" The East Sea Empress stared at Sun Jian and asked, "Yes, why?" Sun Jian was even more confused because the East Sea Empress was looking at him strangely. "What does that Xiaohua look like?" the East Sea Empress hurriedly asked. When Sun Jian revealed Xiaohua's appearance in the air, the East Sea Empress' eyes revealed a look of realization. She pondered for a moment and said, "In other words, before this Xiaohua fell into the Heavens prison, he was a level 4 or 5 elemental energy. Now he's a level 8 elemental energy like you?" This Sun Jian was a little hesitant. He didn't talk much about this with the East Sea Empress. However, after thinking for a moment, he answered honestly, reporting to Auntie, Xiaohua's aptitude is rare in this world. Many of Boy's sacred arts were taught by him. Moreover, his current strength should be at level 9 elemental energy. Level 9 elemental energy? Then isn't he a Tao sect Mahayana realm cultivator? The East Sea Empress was shocked, but her eyes revealed a kind of joy. Yes. Sun Jian didn't dare to be too secretive in front of this auntie, who was similar to his mother. He said, "Xiaohua's current strength is at least level 9 elemental energy." Good. The East Sea Empress clapped and smiled. Then she asked, "That's right, what's Xiaohua's character like?" "Auntie, why are you asking about this?" Sun Jian was rather confused. He felt that the East Sea Empress didn't look like an empress at all. She was practically like a matchmaker in the marketplace. "Hurry up and tell me," the East Sea Empress asked impatiently. "Xiaohua's character is too good. He has too many good points." Sun Jian thought for a moment and said, "Boy, it's not good to list them one by one. In any case, it's best to describe him as unparalleled in chivalry and benevolence." "Is he really that good?" The East Sea Empress couldn't believe it. She asked curiously, "Jian, you're not lying to Auntie, right?" "Why would Boy lie to Auntie?" Sun Jian said with a smile. "Auntie doesn't even know him. There's no need for that, Boy, right?" Then the East Sea Empress' eyes turned again, and she asked, "Does he have a dual cultivation partner?" "Ah." Sun Jian was completely stunned. He also looked at the East Sea Empress in disbelief. "Auntie, why are you asking this?" It's nothing," the East Sea Empress said with a smile. "Auntie just feels that he saved you, and you're Auntie's boy. Auntie is thinking of how to repay him. Our immortal palace has the most female officials. If I introduce one to him, not only can I repay his kindness, I can also recruit a capable person for your uncle. That's why I called you over to ask." "Forget it," Sun Jian said with a wave of his hand. Boy hasn't seen Xiaohua have a dual cultivation partner. However, from what he said, he seems to have someone he likes. However, due to some reasons that he isn't willing to say, They can't be together for the time being. The East Sea Empress' face revealed a benevolent expression. She said with a smile, "Looks like this Xiao Hua is a good child." Sun Jian said with a smile. Spiritual Master Xiao has always been good to his own family. Even if it's a stranger, he's still benevolent. However, he's someone who can be persuaded by reason, but not cowed by force. Whenever someone takes him seriously, his temper flares up. Not to mention the ordinary demonic beasts. Even the devil race would be eaten alive by him. That's for the best, that's for the best. The East Sea Empress was more and more delighted as she listened. She nodded and said, "Tell Auntie more about Xiao Hua?" Even if Sun Jian was an 8th grade origin energy literature saint, he was still a human. As long as he was a human, he couldn't hide any secrets. Sun Jian was somewhat wary of immortal emperors, afraid that they would provoke Xiao Hua. However, in front of his own aunt, he didn't hide anything. He told her how he met Xiao Hua, how he fell into the heavens prison, and how he cultivated. Of course, Sun Jian didn't go into detail about what happened in the ruins. He only said that it was an experience in the illusion. Illusions tested one's humanity the most. Of course, the East Sea Empress didn't suspect him. Sun Jian also told the East Sea Empress about what happened in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range. He was afraid that the Immortal Palace really had something going on with the Fortune Gate. He wanted to rely on the East Sea Empress to deal with the Immortal Emperor. Sun Jian spoke for almost an hour before he bid farewell and left. After Sun Jian left, the East Sea Empress sat on the golden throne and pondered for a long time. Then her expression changed. The joy on her face turned into coldness. She said in a low voice, "Escort Bayan to the palace." "Yes, Empress." The female general outside the Hall of Fragrance immediately answered. In just a moment, Bayan was brought in. Bayan's face was pale. She had only left the Hall of Fragrance for an hour, and now she was being escorted by a female general. She was terrified. Bai, and the East Sea Empress looked coldly at Bai, and then said, "As female officials of the Emperor Star Palace, you knew that the 9th princess actions were wrong. Not only did you not remind her, you even hid it for her. Now that the 9th princess has been severely punished, you can't escape punishment either. Seeing that you have worked hard and that you have just been punished, I will not let the 3 provinces imprison you in the Heaven's Punishment Prison Crystal. I will only banish you to the lower realm. Do you accept this?" When Bayan heard this, she couldn't help but tremble. She opened her mouth to explain, but the East Sea Empress didn't mention any other mistakes. She only said that she hid it, and didn't punish her too severely. She was only removed from her position as an immortal official and banished to the lower realm. She really had nothing to explain. After thinking for a moment, Bayan lowered her head and said, "I accept." At this point, Bayan looked up and said, "However, I ask that Empress reconsider what I said earlier. Don't let the 9th princess regret it for the rest of her life." The East Sea Empress snorted. "You don't need to worry about my matters. Just worry about yourself." "I understand." Bayan lowered her head, not daring to say more. "Take her out," the East Sea Empress ordered. The female generals beside her immediately rushed forward, took Bayan and pushed her out. Rainbow Phoenix. After the female generals left, the East Sea Empress asked again, "Which part of the hidden immortal continent is the most chaotic right now?" Empress, the Rainbow Phoenix general hurriedly replied, "Right now, the 9 states of the hidden immortal continent are suffering from famine and war. I can't say which part is the most chaotic." "Oh." The East Sea Empress glanced at the Rainbow Phoenix general and said calmly, "Just now, the new Great General of the Sun Palace, Sun Cho, said that the Great General of the Lunar Temple has already gone to the Soaring Dragon Mountain range to suppress the remnants of the Tao sect. Yes, that's it. Banish Bai into the Soaring Dragon Mountain range." Chapter 4465. Empress. General Colored Phoenix was shocked and hurriedly said, "Although Tao Wu has some strength, she is a woman after all. If she is banished to the Soaring Dragon Mountain range, I'm afraid she will be in danger. Empress, please show mercy and spare Tao Wu." "Damn it." The East Sea Empress was furious. "I've already made a decision and you dare to disobey? Do you want to be banished to the lower realm too?" "I don't dare." General Colored Phoenix did not dare to say more. She lowered her head and followed the order. She directed the female general of Fragrance Hall to escort Tao Wu and urged the clouds to fly out of the magnificent mountain range Xiaohua. Xiaohua, the East Sea Empress, sat on the golden chair with a mysterious smile on her face. She thought to herself, "I'd like to see what kind of surprise you can bring me." Xiaohua naturally did not know that Princess Xian was suppressed in the heaven punishment prison crystal of the hidden immortal continent. He also did not know that the East Sea Empress was trying her best to scheme against him in order to save her daughter. At this moment, he was flying to the Chitty River with Suji and Fairy Xingyu. These three Dao sect cultivators could now be regarded as the supreme cultivators of the Dao sect in the three continents. However, they did not use any special magic. They just moved their bodies and flew high in the sky of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. The speed of the three was not fast but not too slow either. Seeing the constantly changing scenery and the changes in the sky, Xiaohua naturally would not give up the opportunity to ask the two immortals for advice. Whether it was the questions he had during cultivation or his own guesses, he told them all. Xiaohua had a good impression of Xiaohua. He did not have much time to give him pointers during their previous meetings. Now that he had free time and wanted to borrow Xiaohua's power, Suji answered all of Xiaohua's questions. Looking at Fairy Xingyu at first, she just pursed her lips and smiled. From time to time, she would mock Suji, saying that he wanted to take in a disciple before leaving the three continents. However, a few days later, as Xiaohua's questions became more and more profound, Fairy Xingyu could not help but speak. Fairy Xingyu's cultivation was not as high as Suji's, but she was the law envoy of the Palace of Justice. She knew many secrets of the immortal world, and had seen many immortal cultivation techniques. Sometimes, Fairy Xingyu could answer Suji's questions very well. Of course, occasionally, there would be questions that the two immortals couldn't answer, causing them to argue. As they argued, the two immortals looked at each other. After all, Suji and Fairy Xingyu were immortals from the immortal world, while Xiaohua was only a Mahayana cultivator from the three continents. If Suji and Fairy Xingyu's cultivation was a lake, then Xiaohua was just a small puddle. However, when faced with Xiaohua's question, Suji and Fairy Xingyu felt that Xiaohua was no longer a small puddle. He might also be a lake. However, the lake might be smaller than them, but there were many waterways in the lake, and the waterways led to the boundless sea. Xiaohua was currently cruising around the edge of the lake, bitterly looking for the waterway that led to the sea. As long as Xiaohua found the direction that led to the boundless sea, regardless of the size of the waterway, it would not be able to stop his cultivation from growing like a hot knife through butter. At this point, Suji and Fairy Xingyu no longer doubted that Xiaohua could ascend. The only thing they wanted to know was what level Xiaohua would be when he ascended to the immortal world. However, they also guarded the secret of the immortal world, and did not dare to reveal it. The only thing they could do was explain the profound meaning of cultivation to Xiaohua without reservation. After Xiaohua ascended to the immortal world, they could draw him into their sphere of influence. Of course, there was still a difference between Suji and Fairy Xingyu. Suji did not reveal his own selfish motives. He only tried his best to tell Xiaohua about the gains and losses of his cultivation. On the other hand, Fairy Xingyu often revealed some of the benefits of the Palace of Justice. Xiaohua was not in the mood to think too much. He only knew that he was now taking an immortal as his teacher. Every word from the two immortals was like a bright star in the sky, illuminating his cultivation path. He had long been immersed in an intoxicated state that was even more intense than ascension. Alas, until one day, Fairy Xingyu sighed. Xiaohua, your cultivation path is no longer difficult. All you need is time. From now on, even if you don't cultivate and sleep every day and night, your strength will slowly increase until the laws of the three continents can no longer tolerate you. They will wake you up and kick you directly to the immortal world. As for the tribulation, I can see it even with my eyes closed. How could the thunderbolt technique taught by the punishment envoy of the Palace of Justice not be able to withstand the thunder tribulation of ascension? If it weren't for the fact that entering the immortal world is a big crime, I would almost want to take you back to the immortal world. Xiaohua's eyes flashed with starlight. Wisps of mystery swam in the starlight like chains. He raised his head in a daze. His thoughts had not awakened from the experience that should not exist in the 3 continents. He did not hear Fairy Xingyu's words at all. Don't listen to her nonsense, Suji said with a smile. No one knows what the result will be until the last step. Although I am the punishment envoy of the punishment palace, and sometimes control the thunder tribulation, the thunder tribulation is the will of heaven and earth. Even an immortal cannot know the profound meaning of the thunder tribulation. Although you have cultivated the thunderbolt technique, there is still a long way to go before you can resist the thunder tribulation. Well, if you still have time, you can experience the fury of thunder in Mo Yuntong. The fury of thunder is the thunder cultivation technique practiced by the punishment envoys of the immortal world. It is said that it was created a long time ago when the punishment celestial lord comprehended the thunder tribulation and refined the immortal slaying stage. Of course, the fury of thunder is still different from the thunder tribulation. It can only help you understand the thunder tribulation a little more. Haha, Fairy Xingyu covered her mouth and laughed. Suji, didn't you say that you can't reveal the secrets of the immortal world? Why did you tell Xiaohua what cultivation technique the punishment envoys practice? It doesn't matter. Suji glanced at Fairy Xingyu with a rare trace of warmth in his eyes. He replied, Immortals are also humans. How can they not have feelings? For a cultivator like Xiaohua, even if I have to risk being punished, I want him to enter the immortal world as soon as possible. If Xiaohua enters the immortal world, you can't snatch him from me. Fairy Xingyu pouted. Although he has already cultivated the thunderbolt technique. Suji smiled but didn't say anything. Fairy Xingyu hurriedly said to Xiaohua, Xiaohua, many of the cultivation methods I gave you are for the Master of Law of the Palace of Law to cultivate. For example, the light and cloud light technique, the swift and lightning technique. Thank you. Senior Xiaohua blinked, and the strange phenomenon around him disappeared. He bowed and said, In the past few months, I have gained too much. To put it bluntly, this junior has been cultivating for such a long time, but there has never been a professor who has been so kind to me. This junior's heart is filled with gratitude. You don't have to be so polite, Fairy Xingyu said with a smile. When you go to the immortal world in the future, just listen to me. Suji said seriously, Xiaohua, your aptitude is extraordinary, and we like you very much. But it is not your aptitude that makes me want to teach you. It is your mind and temperament. Not every cultivator of the Dao sect can take the dignity of ordinary people to heart, and they don't care about the life and death of the people in the world. You let Zhaixing Lu and the Luo Yi Merchant Union broadcast good seeds on the hidden immortal continent, and let the Fortune Gate in the soaring Dragon Mountain Range plant good seeds. The food you cultivated in the original Fiend God Blood Pool alone has saved countless people in the secular world. In today's hidden immortal continent, the Confucian cultivators and the Buddhist sect may not know who Taoist Xiao is, but ordinary people in the secular world know. Of course, they may not know that Taoist Xiao is Xiaohua, but they really put Taoist Xiao in their hearts and are grateful to him. With this kindness, I can't not teach you what I have learned. Speaking of this, Suji raised his eyebrows and looked into the distance, intentionally or unintentionally, and said, Of course, I am just an ordinary law enforcer of the punishment palace. My cultivation may be higher than yours now, but in the future, I absolutely believe that you will be stronger than me. I only hope that no matter when and where you are in the future, you will not forget how good Fairy Xingyu and I are to you today. Also, don't forget the root of these good things. Don't forget your original heart and the justice you pursue. Boom! It was unknown whether it was because Suji's words came from the bottom of his heart and caused Xiaohua to feel the same way, or because Xiaohua had been comprehending an extremely profound cultivation technique for the past few months, and it had triggered his memories. As Suji's voice fell, Xiaohua's mind rumbled, and then many scenes gushed out from who knows where: a grave mound, a skinny child, a strict father, and a few deafening words of reprimand. Xiaohua, be grateful. Remember, you must be grateful. Our family is relatively poor, and you left early. In the past 5 years, I know that your life has been more difficult and dangerous. I didn't fulfill my responsibility as a father, and didn't teach you well. This isn't your fault. It's all my fault. Our family has received a lot of kindness from the Misty School. As they say, A drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring. You must remember that we must repay the kindness of the Misty School. Alas, last night you talked about human nature in the Lee family. Your father didn't know much about it. At that time, he didn't dare to disrespect you and didn't interrupt you. What you said may make sense, but I feel that although we can't be on guard against others, we shouldn't think too badly of others. I also know that the people in the martial arts world are sometimes very scheming, but justice lies in the hearts of people. Even if there is no heart, God is watching. Also, now that you have the ability, I don't want you to become a hero who is loved and respected by others. I just want you to become a righteous person who can face everyone with a grateful heart, a compassionate heart, and a chivalrous heart. These words seemed to be very far away, but Xiaohua felt as if they were right in his ears. Tears welled up in Xiaohua's eyes as a sense of homesickness inundated him. Father, grandmother, mother, are you all right? A grand ascension stage human, the center of attention of countless people, had finally found a trace of his lost memories in this faraway land. Chapter 4466. That's right. All law enforcers must have justice in their hearts. They must face all living things in the immortal world with a grateful heart, a compassionate heart, and a chivalrous heart. Only in this way can they face the thunder tribulation and their own immortal slaying stage with a pure heart. When Xiaohua's memories gushed out, he was extremely emotional. Wherever his thoughts reached, the immortal slaying stage in the space released faint lightning. This lightning killed all things and also gave birth to all things. In the midst of life and death, a suction force that made Xiaohua's mind feel extremely close was born. Xiaohua didn't need to think too much. His mind had already fallen into the space. In the space, the immortal slaying stage that had been flashing with lightning along with Xiaohua's comprehension of the thunder art. At this moment, seeing Jade Archive Xiaohua appear, it released a dazzling brilliance, like a thunderflower in full bloom. Jade Archive Xiaohua couldn't help but turn into a stream of light and fall into this thunderflower. Xiaohua's emotions were slightly shaken, and ring-shaped thunderbolts immediately appeared around his body. Crack, 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 they rushed out in all directions. Suji and Fairy Xingyu were stunned. Just as they were about to activate their Dharma power to resist, they saw the weakness in Xiaohua's eyes. Their hearts skipped a beat. The two of them looked at each other. With a flash of their bodies, they went far away, leaving the thunderbolt swimming around Xiaohua and flashing wantonly. Suji Fairy Xingyu saw Xiaohua's figure looming in the thunderbolt, as if his whole person had turned into a thunderbolt. Her heart was filled with surprise as she whispered, "I can't understand Xiaohua anymore." "That's right," Suji also whispered. "Especially now. Back then, I saw Celestial Venerable Master of Laws personally make a move." Fairy Xingyu nodded and said, "In my memory, that palm was like the entire heavenly Tao appearing in front of my eyes. I feel that, even if I cultivate for another 100,000 years, I won't be able to compare to a grain in the Celestial Venerable's hand. Although Xiaohua's strength is not as strong as ours, from the thunder he turned into, I actually saw that kind of vague feeling. A feeling of the heavenly Tao overflowing. Could it be that he is the reincarnation of a Celestial Venerable?" Although Suji knew that he was talking to Fairy Xingyu, he hurriedly stopped her from guessing. Xiaohua is Xiaohua. A Celestial Venerable is a Celestial Venerable. Even if it's an immortal king, it has nothing to do with us. We formed a relationship with Xiaohua in the 3 continents, but now that we've arrived at the Celestial Realm, I really don't know if this is fate or not. Let's just do what we need to do. Don't say too much. Fate. Fairy Xingyu's eyes were also watery. She raised her hand to hold Suji's arm, tilted her head slightly to Suji's shoulder, and whispered, "I'm really grateful to the heavens. If it weren't for this fate, my soul would have been destroyed long ago." While Suji's body stiffened slightly, and he slowly withdrew his arm. He forced a smile on his face and said, "Actually, as long as it's an immortal from the immortal realm, if they encounter such a situation, anyone would help." "Humph. How boring." Fairy Xingyu snorted coldly. "Not as interesting as Xiaohua." Sai Suji sighed and shook his head slightly. However, after a while, Fairy Xingyu smiled again and whispered, "Suji, you've never told me about your hometown. Since you've told me, tell me more about it." Suji looked at Xiao Hua's figure flickering in and out of the lightning. This figure was sometimes in human form, sometimes in the form of lightning, and sometimes even in the form of a heart. Suji could feel the familiar aura of thunderous fury emerging from the core of this heart. Suji suppressed the surprise in his heart and didn't dare to disturb Xiaohua too much. He flew another 100 kilometers and released his divine sense. While guarding Xiaohua, he said, "My memories of my hometown have faded, but there are many interesting things that happened there. I remember when I was young." Fairy Xingyue cupped her cheeks with both hands and stared at Suji with a smile on her face. Weren't the memories that Suji was talking about her memories as well? She didn't know how long it had been since a man had been so patient and talked so tirelessly. He opened up the memories of time bit by bit, and gradually filled the cracks in her heart with love. Love was never an expression of ordinary people. The demon clan, cultivators, and immortals, no matter how long they had been cultivating, when love came, they had no power to resist. Because love was destined. It was irresistible and inexplicable. More than a month had passed, and the cold wind was gradually blowing. Suji frowned and looked at the flashing lightning in the distance. At this time, the lightning was different from before. The unruly and arrogant feeling was gradually gone, and the anger contained within was gradually born. Similarly, Xiaohua's figure had completely turned into a thunderbolt, but this thunderbolt was condensed into the shape of a heart. Suji Fairy Xingyue was also a little impatient. She secretly whispered, "It seems that the time for the Star Moon Palace to appear is coming. Why don't we wake Xiaohua up?" "No." Suji spoke resolutely and decisively. "Even I've only encountered the lightning transformation stage twice in the immortal dimension. Xiaohua has just come into contact with the fury of thunder, and he can have such a realization. His future thunder cultivation technique is limitless. We'll go there ourselves. There's no need to wake him up." But Fairy Xingyue was puzzled. "Didn't your divination say that he is your hope? The mystery of opportunities is not something that can be understood by divination." Suji replied faintly, "If I ruin Xiaohua's opportunity for the sake of my opportunity, this opportunity, I'd rather not have it." "Okay." Fairy Xingyue bit her lip and said, "I'll listen to you. You go first." Suji glanced at Xiaohua, as if he was worried. Fairy Xingyue stamped her feet in midair and said reproachfully, "You're so scheming. I didn't think of waking Xiaohua up." With that, Fairy Xingyue moved her body and left, taking advantage of the north wind. Suji thought for a while, and set up a few simple restrictions. His body flashed with a blue watery light, and disappeared in midair. However, just as the two of them flew 1,000 miles away, an earth-shattering sound of thunder came from behind them. Suji and Fairy Xingyue hurriedly stopped. Without releasing their divine senses, they saw that in the distant sky, a bolt of lightning shot straight into the sky like a jade pillar. In that bolt of lightning, Xiaohua's godlike figure appeared. Looking at the space above Xiaohua's head that had been torn apart by the lightning, layers of shadows fell. That shadow was like an inkstone, but also like a tombstone, exuding a kind of silence and desolation. Immortal? Immortal slaying stage? No, this is the sound of thunder from the fury of thunder. Suji could not help but exclaim, "Is Xiaohua really a genius? He can comprehend the sound of thunder, just by relying on the catalogue of the immortal slaying stage that I gave him?" Buzz, buzz, buzz. As they spoke, an inexplicable sound rushed to them. Wherever this sound passed, not only did the ancient trees and withered grass on the ground turn into powder, but even the rocks and gravel on the surface of the ground were shattered. Whirlpools appeared on the water surface. Even the two immortals felt as if they were being whipped by thousands of whips. Fairy Xingyue said with a wry smile, "I also want to deny it, but he doesn't have the aura of the immortal slaying stage on him. He can't cultivate the fury of thunder with the help of the immortal slaying stage." While the two of them were overestimating Xiaohua's divine senses swept over. In just a moment, Xiaohua's figure turned into a bolt of lightning and he asked curiously, "Seniors, why didn't you wait for me?" Fairy Xingyue rolled her eyes at him and said, "We didn't dare to wait any longer. If we waited any longer, you would have become a celestial master." Sorry," Xiaohua said with a smile. I haven't been in closed-door cultivation for a long time. It's rare for me to be in closed-door cultivation today. I've kept you waiting. Oh. Fairy Xingyue hit the nail on the head and exposed Xiaohua's lie. Haven't you been in closed-door cultivation in the heavenly prison for tens of thousands of years? How can you say that you haven't been in closed-door cultivation? Ouch! Xiaohua touched his nose, as if he suddenly remembered something. He said anxiously, "By the way, I remember something." "What is it?" Suji asked. "Seniors, do you know where the water origin is in the 3 continents?" Xiaohua didn't intend to know the answer. He just wanted to change the topic. It was not beyond his expectations. Not only Suji, but Fairy Xingyue also showed a wry smile and said, "Do you think the water origin is innate heavy water? I've cultivated for so long, but I've never seen the water origin. If you know where it is, please let me know in advance. I also want to watch the fun and broaden my horizons." Suji nodded and said, "Xingyue is right. The origin is too rare. When a realm is born, the origin of the 5 elements will exist. However, as time passes, the origin will either dissipate in the realm or be obtained by others. I don't know how long the 3 continents have existed. They must have been obtained long ago, right? Moreover, not to mention with your cultivation, even with our strength, it would be useless to obtain this origin source item, unless a heavenly venerable or immortal king." At this point, Suji stopped talking. He looked into the distance and said, "Let's hurry. It's getting late. I'm sure the disciples of Zhai Xinglu are waiting anxiously." "All right." Xiaohua successfully changed the topic. Although there was regret on his face, he didn't care. "Let's go." Fairy Xingyue turned into the wind. Suji and Xiaohua were like lightning, flying into the distance. In less than 10 days, there were more and more crimson rocks around the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. Sometimes, the crimson rocks almost covered the entire mountain range. Xiaohua understood that they were about to reach the Chitty River. On this day, the sky had just brightened. The pale sun peeked out from the horizon. Fairy Xingyue's floating figure slowly slowed down. She raised her hand and pointed at a place that was almost invisible to the naked eye. "We've reached Zhai Xinglu. It seems that Xingyue Palace hasn't appeared yet. Let's go to Zhai Xinglu to rest first." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.